Chapter 599. Not a waste. Great job, Dark Emperor. Looking at the lifeless Situ Jia, Ningyu was stunned for a moment before he waved his fist. Although Situ Jia was only at the peak advanced yin-yang state and was not as strong as Deng, it was a milestone for the Dark Emperor to kill him. In that case, the three of them could work together to fight against Deng He. Based on the strength displayed by the Dark Emperor and the Red Devil, they might be able to severely injure Deng if they worked together. It was even possible to kill Deng He. Good, very good. Ningyu, I have to thank you. Deng, he was strangely calm. His face was emotionless as he said, "You guys have helped me deal with Situ Jia. It has saved me a lot of trouble. I have to say that you talk a lot of nonsense." The Dark Emperor kicked Situ Jia far away and stood side by side with Ningyu. "Today, the three of us will let you know that there are some people that you can never offend. Once you do, you will face endless pain." Ha ha ha. Deng, he laughed wildly as if he had heard the funniest joke in the world. He then changed the topic and said coldly, "2 early-stage yin-yang state cultivators and 1 mid-stage primal core cultivator. I don't even need to use my full strength to deal with you guys. Ningyu, take a rest first. Red Devil and I will deal with such arrogant people." The Dark Emperor waved his hand casually. Before Ningyu could reply, he immediately leaped up and charged at Deng He. Red Devil Sword Radiance. Seeing the Dark Emperor attack, the Red Devil waved the Red Devil sword in his hand. A sword radiance swept out and slashed at Deng He's neck. "You're courting death." After all, Deng He was a martial artist at the peak yin-yang state. He was not frightened by the Dark Emperor and the Red Devil at all. He took a few steps back as he stomped on the ground. Black Feather Fist Technique. As Deng He waved his fists continuously, several fist radiants appeared in the air and flew toward the Dark Emperor and the Red Devil. Chi-chi. There were dozens of fist radiants, and they were extremely fast, producing a sizzling sound as they rubbed against the air. Crack! Although the Red Devil's Red Devil Sword Gleam was extremely powerful, it only lasted for a second before it was defeated by the dozens of fist gleams. The Dark Emperor fared better. The purplish gold wings on his back flapped, sending sand and pebbles flying. He was able to block several of Deng He's punches. As expected of the purple gold sky devouring hound, seeing that his fist radiance was blocked, Deng He did not get angry. Instead, he smirked and said, "I only used 50% of my strength just now. Now, I will show you the anger of a martial artist at the peak of yin-yang realm." Buzz. As soon as he finished speaking, Deng He made a grabbing motion in the air. In the blink of an eye, a rift appeared in the space before him. Then, Deng He took a step forward and entered the crack. "Ningyu, be careful!" As soon as Deng He disappeared, the Dark Emperor shouted. With the Dark Emperor's sensitivity to space, he could naturally discover Deng He's intentions. Deng He knew that he could not defeat him and Redskin in a short time, so he changed his target and wanted to kill Ningyu first. Reincarnation Palm. Actually, the moment Deng He disappeared, Ningyu had already guessed his actions. Without waiting for the Dark Emperor to speak, the 7 golden cores in Ningyu's sea of consciousness appeared above his head. Violent yuan qi rushed out of the golden cores and wrapped around his wrists. In the next moment, Ningyu pushed his palms horizontally. Instantly, a shocking palm print appeared and fiercely slapped towards the space in front of him. Azure Wave Palm Print. Feeling the violent fluctuation of primordial qi contained in the palm print, Deng He, who was in the void, felt a chill in his heart. He immediately appeared out of the void and made a seal with his wrist. In an instant, a huge palm print appeared and collided with Ningyu's palm print. Crack! The moment the palm print and palm print collided, a crisp sound rang out in the area. What? This is impossible. What happened next caused Deng He's eyes to widen and his face to be filled with disbelief. The handprint he blasted out, and Ningyu's handprint both shattered and dissipated between heaven and earth. The sudden change really surprised Deng He. One had to know that he had killed countless Yinyang realm martial artists with the azure wave palm print. There was even one time when he used the azure wave palm print to kill a martial artist at the peak of advanced Yinyang realm. What kind of palm print did Ningyu use? It was actually on par with his azure wave palm print. Good chance. Seeing Deng He's reaction, the Dark Emperor and the Red Skin were overjoyed. They hurriedly tore through the void and rushed towards Deng He. There was no way the Dark Emperor and the Red Skin would miss such a good opportunity. In a fight between experts, even a split second of distraction could determine the outcome of the battle, let alone Deng He's surprised reaction. Oh no! After all, Deng He was a martial artist at the peak of Yinyang realm. After being stunned for a moment, he instantly reacted. However, his reaction was obviously a little slow. This was because the Dark Emperor and the Red Skin had already appeared beside him and released powerful attacks from both sides. The Dark Emperor used his giant tail to sweep at Deng He's head. As for the Red Skin, it held the Red Devil Sword and slashed at Deng He's heart at an extremely fast speed. At such a close distance, coupled with the Dark Emperor and the Red Skin using their full strength, it was naturally difficult for Deng He to block them. Bang! Uft! 2 consecutive sounds were heard in the area. Immediately, a figure fell backward like a kite with its string cut. Crack! Although the towering tree that was as thick as a waist did not block Deng He's retreating body, it more or less slowed him down. Don't leave him alive! After their successful attack, the Dark Emperor and the Red Devil looked at each other before they rose from the ground and appeared in front of Deng He in an instant. Deng He, after today you might understand a principle. There are some people that you can't afford to offend in this lifetime. After saying that, the Dark Emperor swept his tail rapidly. Under Deng He's horrified gaze, the tail gradually grew larger and eventually whipped at Deng He's neck. Poof! Seeing that the Dark Emperor had made a move, the Red Devil Sword in the Red Devil's hand flew out and pierced Deng He's heart in a flash. You've offended the royal family. You guys will suffer. Deng He lowered his head and looked at the blood-red flying sword at his heart. He raised his wrist and pointed at the Red Devil and the Dark Emperor. Just as he was about to say something, his eyes rolled back and he fainted. Ningyu, are you going to keep him alive? Seeing that Deng He was still breathing, the Red Devil pulled the Red Devil sword out of Deng He's heart and asked, "A peak Yinyang realm martial artist might be useful to us if we keep him." Kill. Without any hesitation, Ningyu slid his wrist across his neck and said, "Deng He is from the royal family. If we keep him alive, he might cause us endless trouble. Kill him without mercy." That's what I was waiting for. The moment Ningyu said that, the Dark Emperor swept his tail and wrapped Deng He up before flying off into the distance. At the same time, the Dark Emperor's words rang in Ningyu's ears. Chapter 600. To make a spectacle of oneself hearing the Dark Emperor's words. The corners of Ningyu's mouth twitched a few times. The heaven-swallowing dog clan was indeed overbearing and unreasonable. Ningyu really suspected that there was something in this world that the sky-swallowing dogs did not dare to devour. Red Demon. The Red Demon has failed to level up this time. If you want to level up again in the future, what are the conditions? Since the Dark Emperor had gone to devour Deng He, Ningyu decided to converse with the Red Fiend. Although he had killed Situ Jia and Deng He this time, he had also sacrificed the Red Demon Sword's chance to advance to the royal level. This was a big loss for Ningyu. After all, if the Red Demon Sword could advance to the monarch rank, then his strength would instantly rise to a terrifying level. I'm not too sure about that. The Red Devil pondered for a moment, then said, "The Red Devil Sword has failed to advance this time. It will enter a period of dormancy. My initial estimate is that this period of dormancy will take at least a few months." How many months? Ningyu was taken aback at first. Then his expression turned solemn. As his strength increased, the martial artists he faced also became stronger and stronger. Today he had encountered a martial artist at the peak of the Yin-Yang realm. Tomorrow there was a high possibility that he would encounter a martial artist half a step into the creation realm. If the red demon's sword couldn't advance to the monarch level in a short period of time, it would be quite a blow to him. Looks like I'll have to find a way to increase my cultivation base. Ningyu muttered. After the alchemy competition, I must raise my cultivation level to the late primal core stage, or even the peak of the primal core stage. Actually, there is another possibility. Seeing Ningyu's solemn expression, the Red Fiend said hesitantly, as long as you can prepare a large number of transcendent grade origin crystals for me, I have a way to trigger the possibility of the Red Fiend's advancement within a month. A large number of supreme grade origin crystals? Ningyu raised his eyebrows and said without batting an eyelid, How much exactly? 10 million transcendent grade origin crystals. Hong Mo extended a finger and said solemnly, Puchi. Hearing this, Ningyu almost had a heart attack. F***CK. 10 million transcendent grade essence crystals. To think that Hong Mo could actually say that. With so many transcendent grade origin crystals, there was only a possibility that the red demon's sword could level up. Unless he was a fool, he would never do that. I'll just wait for a few months. I'm not in a hurry anyway. Ningyu shrugged and said, Xiao. Right at this moment, a black shadow flashed over from afar. This black shadow was none other than the Dark Emperor. Dark Emperor, why is your cultivation still at the early stage Yin-Yang realm? Furthermore, your aura did not increase at all. The moment he saw the Dark Emperor, Ningyu was slightly startled and asked doubtfully, Dang, he is a peak Yin-Yang realm warrior. Your strength actually did not increase at all. It was no wonder that Ningyu was surprised. After all, Deng, he was a martial artist at the peak of Yin-Yang realm. Even if a pig swallowed Deng He, its strength would increase. The Dark Emperor was actually walking on the spot. Furthermore, he was even showing signs of retreating. Humph, you think I want to? The Dark Emperor glared at Ningyu and said coldly, When I killed Deng He earlier, I expended a lot of energy. Devouring him is just enough for me. Ningyu was speechless. The Dark Emperor had devoured 400,000 of the 520,000 transcendent grade origin crystals in the storage ring, and he said that it was a lot of energy? Ningyu was very suspicious. How did the Dark Emperor digest 400,000 transcendent grade origin crystals? Forget it. Let's leave quickly. This place is very close to the capital. I'm afraid that there will be powerful beings rushing over. Ningyu did not argue with the Dark Emperor too much. Instead, he waved his hand and said, Don't be afraid. With me here, no matter how powerful they are, they will all die if they come. The Dark Emperor said proudly, Idiot. Ning, you could not be bothered with the Dark Emperor. He immediately leaped up and flew towards the capital. Xiao. As for the red demon, it fused with the red demon's sword and entered the storage ring. Holy shit, wait for me. The Dark Emperor was merely bragging earlier on. Given his current condition, he could easily defeat or even kill a late-stage Yin-Yang state martial artist, let alone a martial artist at the peak of Yin-Yang state. Therefore, the Dark Emperor flapped the purplish golden wings on his back and chased after Ningyu. It was noon. The streets of the capital of Great Xia Kingdom were bustling with people. This afternoon was the registration period for the Elixir Refinement Competition. Therefore, all the martial artists who had some attainments in Elixir Refinement walked out of their rooms to register for the competition. The Elixir Refinement Union had a new policy. All the Elixir Refinement Masters who registered in their own name had to refine a second-grade elixir on the spot. Otherwise, they would not be able to register. The implementation of this policy meant that the various shops in the capital were about to usher in a new wave of sales. The World Pavilion was one of the top shops in the capital. Not only did they sell various elixir furnaces, but they also sold high-end Dharma treasures. Legend had it that as long as one had origin crystals, they could even buy a heaven-grade, supreme-grade flying sword in the World Pavilion. At noon, the World Pavilion was still bustling. The first level of the World Pavilion mainly sold yellow-grade and black-grade Dharma treasures. At this moment, it was already packed. The second level of the World Pavilion mainly sold earth-grade Dharma treasures. Although there were fewer people, it was still very crowded. As for the third level of the World Pavilion, because it only sold heaven-grade Dharma treasures, there were fewer people. There were only a dozen of them. On the third level of the World Pavilion, two young martial artists, a man and a woman, stopped in front of the counter with a set of heaven-grade, inferior-grade flying swords. There were a total of 99 flying swords in this set. All of them were heaven-grade, inferior-grade, and they were priced at 200 million superior-grade origin crystals. 200 million superior-grade origin crystals is equivalent to 20,000 transcendent-grade origin crystals. It's a little expensive. Ning Yu looked at the price of this set of flying swords and shook his head slowly. I only need 100 million superior-grade origin crystals to buy 99 heaven-grade, inferior-grade flying swords. Haha, sir, you can't say it like that. Just as Ning Yu finished his sentence, a middle-aged man came forward with a smile. The middle-aged man was around 45 years old. He had a crew cut and a square face. His cultivation was at early stage yin-yang realm. This set of flowing cloud flying swords are all peak heaven-grade, inferior-grade flying swords. They are not much weaker than middle-grade, heaven-grade flying swords. The middle-aged man smiled. Furthermore, it's a sword formation. It's priced at 200 million superior-grade origin crystals. It's definitely worth it. Flowing cloud sword formation. Ning Yu was slightly stunned, and then he said, "If I'm not wrong, it's very difficult to activate a sword formation formed by 99 low-grade heaven-rank flying swords unless one's cultivation has reached the late stage of the yin-yang realm." Good eye. The middle-aged man raised his thumb. A mid-stage yin-yang realm martial artist tried it in the World Pavilion before. However, he only managed to activate 10 flying swords. It's a little expensive. If it's priced at 150 million superior-grade origin crystals, I can consider buying it. Ning Yu was not a fool. The 99 flying swords were only heaven-grade, inferior-grade. 200 million was indeed a little expensive. Humph. Don't embarrass yourself here if you can't afford it. Chapter 601. Activating the Sword Formation. Humph. Don't embarrass yourself here if you can't afford it. When the cold snort was heard, all the martial artists on the third floor of World Pavilion, including Ning Yu, shifted their gazes toward the entrance. Zhaokuo? Looking at the familiar figure at the entrance, Ning Yu's heart skipped a beat. He had a bad feeling about this. He had a grudge against Zhao Kuo. Could Zhao Kuo be here for him? What Zhao Kuo did next confirmed Ning Yu's suspicions. The corners of Zhao Kuo's mouth rose slightly as he walked up to Ning Yu and sneered. It's just 200 million high-grade origin crystals. Young Master Ning can't even afford it? Let me know if you can't afford it. Given our relationship, I can buy the Stream Cloud sword formation and give it to you. In that case, thank you, Zhao Kuo. It would be impolite for me to refuse. Ning Yu raised an eyebrow and smiled. 200 million upper-grade raw crystals may be a lot to me, but it's nothing to you, brother Zhao Kuo. Then Ning Yu turned to the early-stage yin-yang realm middle-aged man and said, "Please wrap up the Stream Cloud sword formation for me. Zhao Kuo will pay for it." In the end, Ning Yu didn't forget to remind them. Zhao Kuo did not expect Ning Yu to do this to him. He gritted his teeth in anger. Because of Ning Yu, he was grounded by Peng Zhou. He had to go through a lot of trouble to convince Peng Zhou to let him out for half a day. Who would have thought that he would bump into Ningyu as soon as he arrived at World Pavilion? Given his personality, he naturally wanted to humiliate Ningyu. Unexpectedly, Ningyu was so cunning. It's not impossible for you to get the stream cloud sword formation. Suddenly, a thought struck Zhaokua, and he regained his composure. He said coolly, as long as you can activate the entire stream cloud sword formation, I'll buy it from you. Whoosh! Zhaokua's words caused an uproar on the third floor of the World Pavilion. The flowing cloud sword formation was said to only be fully activated by an advanced Yin-Yang stage warrior. Ningyu was only at the intermediate primal core stage. How could he possibly activate it? For Zhaokua to say such words, it was obvious that he wanted to see Ningyu make a fool of himself. How could Ningyu activate the flowing cloud sword formation? That's impossible. Ningyu is only at the middle primal core stage. According to my estimation, it would already be impressive for him to be able to activate a flying sword. 1. Aren't you overestimating Ningyu? To tell you the truth, the drift cloud sword formation is a single entity. Without a yin-yang realm cultivation, it's hard to even activate a single sword. Voila! The martial artist who spoke last was at the early yin-yang realm. He had tried the flowing cloud sword array before and knew how terrifying it was. Ningyu, what's your decision? Do you want to give it a try? Zhao Ku was very satisfied with the discussion of the martial artists around him. This was the effect he wanted. He wanted to let everyone see Ningyu make a fool of himself. Zhaokua, if you can activate the entire flowing cloud sword formation, not only will I buy it for you, I will also give you an additional 100,000 supreme essence crystals. Ningyu's eyes darted around as he came up with a plan. What? 100,000 supreme essence crystals. 100,000 supreme essence crystals is equivalent to 1 billion superior essence crystals. That's enough to buy 4 or 5 sets of the flowing cloud sword formation. This is going to be interesting. I wonder if Zhaokua will agree to it. Ningyu's short sentence had thrown the ball to Zhaokua. Aren't you generous? I'm even more generous than you are. You're only buying the flowing cloud sword formation for me, but I'm giving you an additional 100,000 supreme essence crystals. Crack! Hearing Ningyu's words, Zhaokua's knuckles cracked as he clenched his fists. He was on the verge of exploding. This is too much. Ningyu is really too much. However, this is the World Pavilion. Zhaokua did not have the guts to behave atrociously here. He took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, Ningyu, as long as you can activate the entire flowing cloud sword formation, I will give you 110,000 supreme essence crystals. I will give you 150,000, Ningyu said calmly. 160,000. Zhaokua clenched his teeth. 250,000, Ningyu said with a shrug. 250,000. Zhaokua roared hysterically. Deal. Ningyu clapped his hands and said, To deal. Zhaokua wanted to continue bidding, but he quickly came to his senses. Has Ningyu lost his mind? How dare he try to activate the entire flowing cloud sword formation? Ningyu couldn't be bothered to pay attention to Zhaokua, and he said in a clear voice, I'll have to trouble all of you to be my witnesses. If I'm able to activate the entire drift cloud sword formation, Zhaokua will have to give me an additional 250,000 origin crystals. Haha, this is my favorite thing to do. Don't worry, we'll be your witnesses. That's right. We'd like to see if anyone can activate the entire flowing cloud sword formation at Primordial Core Realm. Hee hee, today's trip is really worth it. Sure enough, the surrounding martial artists were just here to watch a good show. They shouted one after another. Since everyone had expressed their stance, the middle-aged man from the World Pavilion felt that he had to say something. Cough, cough. The middle-aged man coughed dryly before saying, I'll spread the word that as long as Ningyu can activate the entire flowing cloud sword formation, the World Pavilion will give it to him for free. In reality, the middle-aged man did not believe that Ning Yu could activate the entire flowing cloud sword formation. The reason why he said that was to let the crowd know that the World Pavilion was generous. Moreover, the middle-aged man secretly informed the others in the World Pavilion to create a scene at the entrance of the World Pavilion to attract more attention. Naturally, Ning Yu knew what the middle-aged man was planning. He smiled but did not expose him. Ning Yu, I'd like to see how you're going to activate the entire flowing cloud sword formation. Zhao Kuo said fiercely. If you can't activate the flowing cloud sword formation, Zhao Kuo paused before continuing, I want you to withdraw from the elixir refining competition. I don't think it has anything to do with you whether I withdraw from the elixir refining competition or not. Ning Yu pursed his lips and said, Some people better stay away from me. I'm afraid that the flowing cloud sword formation will hurt them. Ha ha ha. Zhao Kuo laughed maniacally and said coldly, It's still unknown if you can activate the flowing cloud sword formation. You actually... What? However, before Zhao Kuo could finish his sentence, his eyes widened and his face filled with confusion. Not far away, Ning Yu slammed his palm on the counter, grabbed a heaven-level lower-grade flying sword, and threw it into the air. At the same time, Ning Yu separated a portion of his soul power into the flying sword and controlled it to fly across the third level of the World Pavilion. The sudden turn of events caused the crowd's jaws to drop. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. This was especially true for Zhao Kuo, who stood rooted to the ground like an idiot. No matter how hard he tried, he could not understand how Ning Yu, who was only in the middle stage of the primal core stage, could control the flying swords of the stream cloud sword formation. Chapter 602. I'll give you a chance silence. The entire third level of the World Pavilion was unusually quiet. Many martial artists stared at the flying swords in midair, their eyes wide open in shock. Gulp! After a while, someone swallowed a mouthful of saliva. The spacious third level of the World Pavilion became noisy again. This is unbelievable. Ning Yu can actually activate a flying sword. Ning Yu's cultivation level is only at the mid-stage of the primal core realm, right? To be able to activate the stream cloud sword formation with a cultivation level of the primal core realm, I'm afraid it's not an exaggeration to say that he's the best under the Yin-Yang realm. The best? I think he's still lacking. That's right. Ning Yu can only activate one flying sword. If he can activate the entire set of 99 flying swords, I'll admit that he's the best under the Yin-Yang realm. Zhao Kuo's face was already full of bitterness. Now that he heard the discussions of the martial artists around him, his face turned ashen and extremely ugly. Initially, he wanted the crowd to laugh at Ning Yu. Now the crowd was laughing at him instead, which made him very unhappy. Humph! Activating a flying sword is nothing. I can do it too. To save face, Zhao Kuo snorted. Activating the entire set of the stream cloud sword formation with a cultivation level of the primal core realm? Dream on, swoosh! 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 However, as soon as Zhao Kuo finished speaking, Ning Yu slammed his palm on the counter, and a few more flying swords flew out and soared through the air. Whoosh! Ning Yu's action immediately caused an uproar on the third level of the World Pavilion. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a total of 16 flying swords. Ning, you can activate 16 flying swords at the same time. That's really not easy. 16 flying swords. Even an average mid-stage Yin-Yang realm martial artist can't do that. Hee, look at Zhao Kuo's face. It's uglier than eating sh*T. Swoosh! The last martial artist's laughter caused the crowd to shift their attention to Zhao Kuo. At this moment, Zhao Kuo's face was indeed very unsightly. Extremely unsightly. Slap in the face. It was a naked slap in the face. Ning Yu controlled 16 flying swords effortlessly. Without a doubt, It was like a huge palm slapping down viciously on Zhao Kuo's face. Zhao Kuo opened his mouth, wanting to say something harsh, but he found that he couldn't utter a single word. Judging from Ning Yu's current condition, it wasn't too difficult for him to activate the entire flowing cloud sword formation. Ning Yu's strength is actually so strong. At this moment, the middle-aged man from the World Pavilion finally panicked. He had said in front of everyone that as long as Ning Yu could activate the entire Stream Cloud sword formation, he would give the Stream Cloud sword formation to Ning Yu for free. As the person in charge of the third level of the World Pavilion, he could not go back on his words. The flowing cloud sword formation, which is priced at 200 million, is it going to be given to Ning Yu for nothing? The middle-aged man rolled his eyes, feeling a little unwilling. However, the current situation did not allow him to think too much. No, I've got to inform the others. Let's let more people know that Ning Yu is trying to activate the Stream Cloud sword formation. The middle-aged man sent out several messages, urging the people outside the World Pavilion to increase their efforts. Since he was going to give away the Stream Cloud sword formation, he had to let more people know about it. Zhao Kuo, I'll give you a chance now. Just as everyone thought that Ning Yu would activate the entire Stream Cloud sword formation without hesitation, Ning Yu stopped and said to Zhao Kuo, let's call it a day. You only need to give me 100,000 Supreme Essence crystals. Ning Yu's sudden action caused all the cultivators, including Zhao Kuo, to frown slightly, feeling incredulous. It seemed like Ning Yu could only activate a dozen flying swords at a time. Otherwise, why would Ning Yu make such a concession? After all, once Ning Yu activated the entire set of the Drift Cloud sword formation, not only would he receive 250,000 pieces of supreme-grade origin crystals from Zhao Kuo, but he would also receive a free set of the Drift Cloud sword formation from the World Pavilion. Unless Ning Yu was a fool, there was no way he would do something so foolish. Ning Yu did not care about the strange looks on everyone's faces as he continued. You only have one chance. If you miss this chance, you won't get it again. What's going on? Why did you stop activating the Stream Cloud sword formation? What the cultivators on the third level of the World Pavilion did not know was that on the second level of the World Pavilion, an old man dressed in black was frowning deeply, his face filled with confusion. A mere mid-stage primordial core cultivator would never be able to discover me. The old man's brows knit together tightly as he muttered. I used a top-grade Earth-rank flying sword as the model for this Cloud Stream sword formation, and I spent a year of time to forge it. There's only a single method to utilize the entire sword formation without attaining the advanced stage of the Yin-Yang realm. The concentration of the Yuan Qi in the body is comparable to that of a late-stage Yin-Yang realm cultivator. Not long ago, I met a peak primordial core cultivator whose concentration was comparable to that of a late-stage Yin-Yang realm cultivator. Could it be that this mid-stage primordial core cultivator's concentration is comparable to that of a late-stage Yin-Yang realm cultivator? I'd better go take a look and see what this mid-stage primordial core cultivator is capable of. As he spoke, the old man quickened his pace and headed towards the third level of the World Pavilion. At the same time, on the third level of the World Pavilion, Zhao Kuo's face was dark and gloomy as he struggled internally. There were two options before him: compromise and hand over 100,000 supreme essence crystals. Persevere, and he might lose 250,000 supreme essence crystals. Or he might not even lose a single supreme essence crystal. After a brief internal struggle, Zhao Kuo chose the latter option and said coldly, Ning Yu, I think you can only activate 16 flying swords. You can't activate the remaining flying swords. How dare you ask me to compromise? Humph, you must be dreaming. Sigh, good advice is harsh to the ear, but bitter to the mouth is beneficial to the body. Upon hearing Zhao Kuo's words, Ning Yu sighed softly and did not say another word. Smack! In the next moment, Ning Yu slammed his hands on the counter, and several flying swords flew out from the counter. Together with the original 16 flying swords, they hovered in midair. At this moment, a black-robed old man soundlessly entered the third level of the World Pavilion without anyone noticing. Of course, Ning Yu was an exception. Ning Yu stopped what he was doing and glanced at the old man. Then he waved his hands repeatedly and continuously through the flying swords from the flowing cloud sword formation into the air. Swoosh! In just a few seconds, Ning Yu had thrown out more than 10 inferior heaven-level flying swords. During this time, every time Ning Yu threw out an inferior heaven-level flying sword, Zhao Kuo's heart would skip a beat. In the end, when he saw that there was only one flying sword left in the counter, Zhao Kuo's forehead was filled with beads of sweat. No, please don't. Zhao Kuo could not help but pray in his heart that Ning Yu would not activate the last flying sword. Chapter 603. Borrowing Primordial Crystals. Chapter 603. Borrowing Primordial Crystals. Zhao Kuo, you have one last chance. Ning Yu placed his palm on the last flying sword and said hesitantly, "Once I pick up this flying sword, you'll have to pay 250,000 supreme-grade primordial crystals for it." Actually, Ning Yu really did not want to pick up the last flying sword. This thought was especially strong when Ning Yu looked at the black-robed old man. For some reason, Ning Yu suddenly had an idea. He could not reveal too much of himself to the black-robed old man. That was why Ning Yu did not pick up the last flying sword in front of so many people. There's no need for that. It's just 250,000 supreme-grade primordial crystals. It's nothing to me. Being stared at by so many people, Zhao Kuo could not help but say something that was against his will. Zhao Kuo regretted at the moment he said it. If not for the fact that there were so many people around, he would have slapped himself. That was 250,000 supreme-grade primordial crystals. Even if he added up all his assets, he would not be able to gather that much. However, it was too late for Zhao Kuo to regret it now. Ning Yu wrapped his yuan qi around his palm and abruptly grabbed the last flying sword. Go! With a low shout from Ning Yu, he threw the last flying sword into the air. Whoosh! When Ning Yu threw the last flying sword into the air, all the martial artists on the third level of the World Pavilion had their mouths agape in disbelief. Ning Yu was only at the mid-primordial core stage, but he could activate the entire flowing cloud sword formation? If someone had told them that a primordial core martial artist could also activate the entire flowing cloud sword formation, none of them would have believed it. However, the truth was right before their eyes. They had to believe it, even if they did not want to. After activating the entire flowing cloud sword formation for only 3 seconds, Ning Yu's forehead was covered in sweat and his body was trembling. "Ning Yu, are you all right?" Lu Wei hurriedly asked when she saw Ning Yu's condition. "Don't worry, I'm fine." Ning Yu waved his hand to indicate to Lu Wei not to worry. However, just as Ning Yu finished speaking, his body wavered. Fortunately, Lu Wei caught him in time, or he would have fallen to the ground. What's going on? That goes without saying. Ning Yu's essence is definitely insufficient. He is already showing signs of weakness. That's right, the flowing cloud sword formation is said to only be activated by warriors of the late Yin-Yang stage. It's not easy for Ning Yu to activate it with his mid-primal core stage cultivation. That's right, the flowing cloud sword formation can only be activated by advanced Yin-Yang stage martial artists. It's not easy for Ning Yu to activate it as a mid-primordial core martial artist. Following Ning Yu's command, the 99 heaven-level inferior-grade flying swords descended from the sky. Phew! As the flying swords descended, Ning Yu heaved a sigh of relief. His face was slightly pale. Cough, cough. In the next moment, Ning Yu coughed twice and walked slowly to Zhao Kuo's side. He held out a hand and said, "My apologies, I was lucky enough to activate the entire flowing cloud sword formation. 250,000 supreme-grade yuan crystals. Hand it over." Swoosh! Upon hearing Ningyu's words, the surrounding martial artists all turned to look at Zhao Kuo. They wanted to see if Zhao Kuo would fork out 250,000 supreme-grade yuan crystals. 250,000 supreme-grade yuan crystals, when converted to superior-grade yuan crystals, would be 2.5 billion. This amount of yuan crystals would be enough to make Zhao Kuo's heart ache for a long time. At this moment, Zhao Kuo felt as if he had been F***ed. If he had known earlier, he would have agreed to Ningyu's request. Now he had wasted 150,000 supreme-grade yuan crystals for nothing. What? Young master, Zhao Kuo doesn't have that many supreme-grade yuan crystals. Looking at Zhao Kuo's expression, Ningyu raised his brows and said calmly, 250,000 supreme-grade yuan crystals. We can pay in installments. Installments? Zhao Kuo was taken aback and asked doubtfully. Ningyu nodded and said, "You can pay me in 3 installments, and each installment will be 100,000 supreme-grade yuan crystals." Zhao Kuo thought for a moment and shouted, 3 installments, 100,000 each. F***ck, if that's the case, doesn't that mean I have to pay you 300,000 supreme-grade yuan crystals? Sigh, I'm not treating you like a fool. Sigh, I'm not treating you like a fool. Ningyu sighed softly and said, I'm giving you a chance. If you insist on paying me 250,000 supreme-grade yuan crystals at once, I have no objections. You, Zhao Kuo gritted his teeth in anger. By doing this, Ningyu was clearly bullying him because he did not have that many supreme-grade yuan crystals. Since he had come to the World Pavilion to purchase a flying sword, Zhao Kuo had brought 50,000 supreme-grade yuan crystals with him. However, where was he going to find the remaining 200,000? Moreover, even if he wanted to pay in installments, he was still short of 50,000 supreme-grade yuan crystals. Attendant who? Zhao Kuo's gaze swept across the crowd on the 3rd floor of the World Pavilion, eventually landing on the middle-aged man in early-stage yin-yang state. Please lend me 200,000 supreme-grade yuan crystals. I'll definitely pay you back on time tomorrow. Heir. The middle-aged man who was addressed as attendant, who was stunned for a moment before he said, Zhao Kuo, I'm just attendant in the World Pavilion. I don't even have 10,000 supreme-grade yuan crystals with me. Where am I going to find you 200,000 supreme-grade yuan crystals? Attendant who? You're in charge of the 3rd floor of the World Pavilion. I'm sure you'll be able to mobilize quite a number of supreme-grade yuan crystals. Zhao Kuo gritted his teeth and said, As long as you lend me 200,000 supreme-grade yuan crystals, I guarantee that all the Elixir Refinery Union's magical weapons for the next 3 years will be purchased from the World Pavilion. Are you serious? Attendant, whose face lit up when he heard that. The Elixir Refinery Union was a huge organization. 3 years' worth of magical weapons would cost them at least a few million supreme-grade yuan crystals. If he could clinch this deal, he could even climb into the upper echelons of the World Pavilion. Of course, not only that, I'll also help you get more customers. In order to borrow 200,000 supreme-grade yuan crystals, Zhao Kuo was really going all out. I'm on good terms with Zhang Tianwen from the capital's Zhang family. I'm on good terms with Situ Wen as well. I even know a few princes from the royal family. Zhao Kuo began to brag. As long as you can lend me 200,000 supreme-grade yuan crystals, I can convince them to purchase magical weapons from the World Pavilion in the future. Let me think about it. Although attendant, who was very tempted, as the attendant of the 3rd floor of the World Pavilion, he was no fool. Everyone knew how to write empty promises. If Zhao Kuo did not fulfill his promise in the future, wouldn't he suffer a huge loss? Moreover, he would have to bear a huge risk by using 200,000 supreme-grade yuan crystals from the World Pavilion without permission. Attendant Hu, please disperse the crowd at the entrance of the World Pavilion. Let me handle this. Just then, the black-robed old man who had just entered the room took a step forward and pushed through the crowd to stand beside Attendant Hu. Chapter 604. Chapter 604. Harry Ball's feet, Senior. May I know who you are? Zhao Kuo was taken aback by the sudden turn of events. It was truly a case of a silver lining at the end of the tunnel. Zhao Kuo was prepared to be mocked by Ningyu. Who would have thought that an old man in black would appear out of nowhere and offer to give him 200,000 supreme essence crystals? Who exactly was this old man to give him 200,000 supreme essence crystals for free? Hee, you don't need to know who I am. The old man smiled and said, all you need to know is that I'm on good terms with Guild Master Peng Zhou. Swoosh. With that said, the black-clad old man flicked his sleeve, and a storage pouch flew toward Zhao Kuo in an instant. Smack! With quick reflexes, Zhao Kuo caught the storage bag in his hand. Gasp! When Zhao Kuo sent his sole perception into the storage pouch, a look of surprise appeared on his face. Senior, didn't you say that you're going to give Attendant Hu 200,000 Supreme Essence Crystals? What's the meaning of this? Zhao Kuo waved the storage pouch in his hand and asked in confusion. Earlier, the black-robed old man had said to ask Deacon Hu to prepare 200,000 Transcendent Grade Essence crystals from the accountant. Why did he give him a storage pouch now? Moreover, there were 200,000 Transcendent Grade Essence crystals in the storage pouch. It's all right. I'm giving you 200,000 Supreme Essence crystals as an extra gift. The black-clad old man waved his hand and said calmly, as the last disciple of the Alchemy Union's president, if you don't have hundreds of thousands of Transcendent Grade Essence crystals on you, you'll not be embarrassing yourself, but Peng Zhou. After hearing the old man's explanation, apart from Zhao Kuo, the rest of the martial artists on the third floor of the World Pavilion were speechless. What was a godlike tycoon? This was a godlike tycoon. Back and forth, 400,000 Transcendent Grade Essence crystals were given away just like that. They didn't even frown in the slightest. At that moment, some of the martial artists began to fantasize about how happy they would be if they were the old man's disciple. He's not here with good intentions. In contrast to the crowd's shock, Ningyu took a deep breath with a solemn look on his face. Ningyu was very clear that the black-clothed old man gifting 400,000 Transcendent Grade Essence crystals was completely for him to see. In other words, the black-robed old man wanted to tell him that Zhao Kuo had a close relationship with him. Under such circumstances, if Ningyu still dared to ask for Zhao Kuo's 250,000 Transcendent Grade Essence crystals, he would be going against him. Ningyu, this is the 250,000 Supreme Grade Origin crystals I owe you. You can count them. While Ningyu was lost in his thoughts, Zhao Kuo transferred all 50,000 pieces of Supreme Grade Origin crystals into the storage pouch and threw it to Ningyu. At the same time, the corner of Zhao Kuo's mouth curled up, and he sneered, "After you're done counting, return the storage bag to me. I still have use for it." Xiao, looking at the storage bag floating in front of him, Ningyu's face darkened. He had two choices in front of him. First, accept the 200,000 Transcendent Grade Origin crystals in the storage bag, which might offend the black-robed old man. Second, return the storage bag to Zhao Kuo. Although it would not offend the black-robed old man, it would make him lose face. 1 second later, Ningyu made up his mind. Pa! The next moment, Ningyu reached out and grabbed the storage bag tightly in his hand. Crack! Crack! Ningyu could clearly see that when he grabbed the storage bag, The black-robed old man opposite him could not help but clench his fists so tightly that they even made a slight cracking sound. Different situations call for different actions. You're just a martial artist at the peak of the Inyan realm. Since he had decided to accept the storage bag, Ningyu no longer paid attention to the black-robed old man. He put the transcendent-grade origin crystals in the storage bag into his storage ring, and then returned the storage bag to Zhao Kuo. Swoosh! After receiving the storage bag, Zhao Kuo's face darkened to the extreme. Originally, Zhao Kuo thought that Ningyu would decline, but who would have thought that Ningyu would not be courteous at all? "Ningyu, I hope you'll be on time for the alchemy competition tomorrow," Zhao Kuo said through gritted teeth. "You can rest assured that I'll be there on time," Ningyu said with a smile. "Humph." Zhao Kuo snorted coldly and turned his head away, not saying another word. "Well, Zhao Kuo, haven't you forgotten one thing?" Seeing Zhao Kuo's expression, Ningyu said hesitantly, "What is it?" Zhao Kuo asked in surprise. "You said that as long as I can activate the entire flowing cloud sword formation, you'll buy it and give it to me," Ningyu said with a shrug. "You." Zhao Kuo clenched his fists tightly. He could not wait to teach Ningyu a lesson. This is too much. Ningyu is really too much. It's just a flowing cloud sword formation. What's the harm in giving it to you? At this moment, the black-robed old man helped Zhao Kuo out of his predicament. He walked up to the counter, grabbed the entire flowing cloud sword formation, and tossed it to Ningyu. Swoosh! Looking at the flowing cloud sword formation that was flying toward him, Ningyu's eyes narrowed, and a solemn expression appeared on his face. Lu Wei stepped back. Ningyu pulled Lu Wei behind him, and the Yuan Qi in his divine sense roiled and gathered on his wrist. With a backhand, he grabbed the flowing cloud sword formation in front of him. "I'd like to see if the Yuan Qi in your body is as rich as a yin-yang advanced stage martial artist's." Looking at Ningyu's actions, the black-robed old man's eyes turned cold, and he thought to himself, although you're a core disciple of the Sacred Institute of Danwu College, you're destined to suffer for offending the Zhang family. If Ningyu heard the black-robed old man's words, he would definitely be shocked. From the black-robed old man's words, he seemed to have an unspeakable secret with the Zhang family in the capital. "Ningyu, be careful of this old man. He has a murderous intent toward you just now." Suddenly, the Dark Emperor's warning rang in Ningyu's mind. Murderous intent. Originally, Ningyu's attention was on the flowing cloud sword formation. Now that he heard the Dark Emperor's words, he was slightly stunned. Woof! Woof! While Ningyu was stunned, Lu Wei, who was next to him, was shocked. That was because the flowing cloud sword formation had already arrived in front of Ningyu, and it was stabbing towards Ningyu's head. At the critical moment, Furball, who was in Lu Wei's arms, broke free from Lu Wei's embrace and stood in front of Ningyu. Furball's first stood up, and it roared. Instantly, the flowing cloud sword formation stopped in midair. Not good. Furball's roar pulled Ningyu back from his daze. After regaining consciousness, Ningyu took a deep breath and hurriedly gathered Yuan Qi on his wrist, holding the flowing cloud sword formation firmly. This white puppy can actually block the flowing cloud sword formation. Others might not know of Furball's feat, but the black-robed old man was very clear about it. In order to test Ningyu, he had thrown out the flowing cloud sword formation. Unless the Yuan Qi in one's body was comparable to a yin-yang advanced stage martial artist, it would definitely be impossible to block it. Chapter 605. A puppet? What do you mean by that? Ningyu's expression darkened when he sensed the weak aura emitted by Furball. Others might not know what the old man did in the streaming cloud sword formation, but Ningyu knew it clearly. If Furball had not stepped forward at the most critical moment, he might have been severely injured. That was the reason why Ningyu had to seek justice for Furball no matter what. Fufu, nothing much. I just want to hand over the streaming cloud sword formation to you. The old man smiled. Young man, don't be so hot-tempered. It won't help your cultivation in the future. Young men should be full of vigor. Ning Yu calmed down when he saw the old man's expression and remarked indifferently, some old men shouldn't take advantage of their seniority. Ha ha ha! The black-robed old man threw his head back and laughed wildly. However, one could vaguely hear a hint of coldness in his smile. All right, young men these days are really arrogant. After laughing, the old man nodded. Let me give you a piece of advice. It's best to restrain yourself in the pugilistic world. Foo-foo, whether I restrain myself or not doesn't seem to have anything to do with some people. Ning Yu smiled faintly. Some old men who hide daggers behind their smiles won't live long in the pugilistic world. Initially, the old man could still chat freely with Ning Yu. However, after hearing Ning Yu's sharp words, he could no longer take it and trembled in anger. Sigh. Ning Yu sighed softly when he saw the old man trembling. Let's forget about today's matter for now. I won't stoop to the level of some old men. If it was me in the past, I would have lost control long ago. Whoosh! Even a fool would understand what Ning Yu meant when he heard Ning Yu's words. He was hinting at the old man with daggers hidden in his smile. Warriors who were qualified to enter the third level of the World Pavilion were people of status and were not weak. They could clearly sense the anger of the old man. Sha! Hence, apart from Ning Yu and Lu Wei, all the cultivators on the third level of World Pavilion distanced themselves from the black-robed elder, afraid that they would be implicated. Go on. Don't stop. Inwardly, Zhao Kuo was bursting with joy. It was good news for him that Ning Yu didn't know how to appreciate favors. The black-clothed old man was very powerful. Once Ning Yu angered him, the consequences would definitely not be something that Ning Yu could bear. Looks like I don't have to do anything at all. Ning Yu might not be able to participate in the alchemy competition tomorrow. The corners of Zhao Kuo's lips curled up into a smile. He was itching for the black-robed old man to attack and teach Ning Yu a painful lesson. However, what the black-clad old man did next was beyond Zhao Kuo's expectation. The black-robed old man did not attack Ning Yu, nor did he show any signs of anger. Instead, he was very calm, as if the old man Ning Yu had mentioned was not him. Ning Yu, although you are a little arrogant, you have the right to be so, the black-robed old man said. Not long ago, a peak primal core warrior came to the World Pavilion and said that he wanted to buy a king-level flying sword. Upon hearing this, the surrounding cultivators stuck their ears out, wanting to hear what the black-robed old man had to say. It was rumored that as long as one had primordial crystals, one could buy a king-level flying sword from the World Pavilion. Of course, rumors were just rumors. The World Pavilion did not clarify the matter. The black-robed old man's words were obviously meant to send a message to the outside world that the World Pavilion had a king-level flying sword. Some people don't know if the World Pavilion has a king-level flying sword. The black-robed old man's gaze swept across all the cultivators on the third level of the World Pavilion. In a low voice, he said, Now I can tell you very clearly that there is. The World Pavilion has a king-level flying sword. Whoosh! The news that the black-robed old man had thrown out was too weighty. It was so weighty that no one could accept it. A king-level flying sword was something that even a peak Yin-Yang realm warrior coveted. One had to know that most of the peak Yin-Yang realm warriors in the capital were only using heaven-level flying swords. If they could get their hands on a king-level flying sword, their combat abilities would increase by at least 20 to 30%. The crowd's reaction was clearly within the black-robed old man's expectations. Very satisfied, he continued, A king-level flying sword is not something that can be bought with primordial crystals. At that time, I gave that peak primal core warrior a difficult problem. If he could solve it, I would unconditionally give him the inferior king-level flying sword. Swoosh! With that, The black-robed old man flicked his sleeves. In an instant, a golden flying sword appeared in his hand. The flying sword was completely golden. Even the handle appeared to be golden. Soul-chasing sword. The black-robed old man waved the golden flying sword in his hand and said in a low voice, "I believe everyone has already guessed that the peak primal core warrior did not solve the problem. Therefore, this inferior king-level soul-chasing sword is still in my hands. Today, I will announce that as long as anyone can solve the problem I gave him, I will unconditionally give him the soul-chasing sword." As soon as the black-robed old man finished speaking, the huge third level of the world pavilion was strangely silent. This silence was a little scary. Even the sound of breathing could be heard clearly. The problem I gave was not very difficult. Allow me to keep everyone in suspense first. At this point, the black-robed old man took out a crystal ball and whispered a few words into it. Then he did not speak again. Thump, thump. A moment later, a few heavy footsteps sounded from the entrance of the third level of the world pavilion. Very quickly, for people glowing with golden light appeared in front of everyone. Puppets! A sharp-eyed warrior discovered the secret of these 4 people. What are puppets? A warrior asked doubtfully. The so-called puppets are a type of puppet. To be precise, the puppets are similar to the dark, golden, spiritual corpse of the corpse sect. It's just that the puppets are more resistant and have stronger combat power. These 4 puppets are all at the peak of the advanced Yin-Yang realm. Their combat power is comparable to a peak Yin-Yang realm warrior. The black-robed old man's problem. Could it be that he wants to defeat these 4 puppets? The surrounding martial artists sucked in a breath of cold air. If it was really as the last warrior said, even a peak Yin-Yang realm warrior would not be able to do it. Cough, cough. The black-robed old man wanted this kind of shocking effect. He coughed twice and said in a clear voice, "I believe some of you have already guessed what the problem is. That's right, it's the same as what you are thinking. Defeat the 4 puppets. But you don't have to worry. I know that there are no more than 10 martial artists in the capital who can defeat these 4 puppets. So, I've slightly lowered the conditions. That is, you have to last 10 minutes against these 4 puppets. I forgot to mention that not everyone is qualified to challenge the puppets. You have to be below the Yin-Yang realm. Even though the black-robed old man had lowered the requirements, it was still a huge challenge for everyone. Chapter 606. Zhao Kuo's Challenge. Chapter 606. Challenge, let me challenge it. Suddenly, a peak primal core martial artist gritted his teeth and said, "I want to see how powerful a late-stage Yin-Yang realm puppet is." "You want to challenge it?" The old man in black raised an eyebrow and said calmly, 10,000 supreme-grade essence crystals. The registration fee is 10,000 supreme-grade essence crystals. There's a registration fee? The peak primal core martial artist was dumbfounded. He had only wanted to give it a try, but now that there was a registration fee of 10,000 supreme-grade essence crystals, he gave up immediately. Only a fool would challenge it with 10,000 supreme-grade essence crystals. Haha, of course there's a registration fee. The old man in black smiled matter-of-factly. Every time the puppet is activated, a large number of essence crystals will be consumed. World Pavilion cannot make a loss. Let me give it a try. Right then, a half-step Yin-Yang realm martial artist took a step forward and threw a storage bag to the old man in black. There are 10,000 supreme-grade essence crystals in there. I want to challenge 4 puppets. The old man in black kept the storage bag casually and said, "You're a half-step Yin-Yang realm martial artist. You meet the requirements." Swoosh! The next moment, the half-step Yin-Yang realm martial artist leaped from the ground and dashed towards one of the puppets. The half-step Yin-Yang realm martial artist's goal was clear. He wanted to test the strength of a puppet first. then see if he could last for 10 minutes. Smack! However, a second later, a crisp sound was heard. Then the half-step yin-yang realm martial artist fell backward, like a kite with a broken string. Bam! Before long, the half-step yin-yang realm martial artist landed heavily on the ground, and his breathing became weaker. The sudden change caused the surrounding martial artists to be a little dumbfounded. Were the puppets that powerful? The half-step yin-yang realm martial artist only lasted for a second before he was defeated. Who could last for 10 minutes like that? I didn't expect them to be puppets. Compared to the crowd's shock, Ningyu was much more shocked. In his previous life, when Ningyu was in the Blessed Realm, he had fought against a puppet of the same rank. Unfortunately, Ningyu had lost without a doubt. Puppets had a very big characteristic. As long as there were enough yuan crystals inside, they could fight for a long time, unless an extremely strong force was used to completely shatter it. However, only a manifestation realm martial artist could destroy a puppet at the peak of the later stage of Yin-Yang realm. If it were me, I'm afraid I could only last 3 minutes against these 4 puppets. Ningyu secretly compared his strength with that half-step Yin-Yang realm martial artist and realized that he wouldn't fare any better if he fought with the puppet. To be able to last for 3 minutes, one would have to use all of their trump cards. Haha, Ningyu, do you want to give it a try? Just as Ningyu was deep in thought, a faint laugh rang in his ears. You are a distinguished guest of the World Pavilion. If you are willing to take part in the challenge, I can waive your registration fee of 10,000 yuan. You want me to take part in the challenge? Ningyu was taken aback at first. Then he shook his head without thinking. I can't control a king-grade flying sword, so I don't want to take part in the challenge for now. Humph. What do you mean you don't want to take part in the challenge? In my opinion, you don't have the guts. Zhao Kuo scoffed. If you don't have the guts, then you don't. Why do you have to make it sound so grand? Oh, in that case, young Master Zhao Kuo is confident that you can defeat 4 puppets. Ningyu raised an eyebrow and said calmly, Young Master Zhao Kuo, why don't you give it a try? Given your relationship with this old man, I'm sure you don't have to pay the registration fee of 10,000 supreme yuan crystals. You, Zhao Kuo gritted his teeth in anger. He was the one who mocked Ningyu, but Ningyu kicked the ball back to him, putting him in a difficult position. Fine, it's just 4 puppets. I'm not afraid of you. After a while, Zhao Kuo said coldly, after I challenge them, you have to challenge them as well. Don't go back on your word. You really want to challenge them? Zhao Kuo's determination was beyond Ningyu's expectation. Those were 4 puppets at the peak of the late Yin-Yang stage. With Zhao Kuo's strength, let alone 10 minutes, he might not even be able to last a minute or a second. To be precise, he might not even be able to last half a second. After all, Zhao Kuo's strength was much weaker than that half-step Yin-Yang stage martial artist. Zhao Kuo was a peerless genius in the alchemy union. He had great attainments in alchemy, but his martial strength was slightly weaker. That's right, I want to challenge them. Zhao Kuo said proudly, aren't they just 4 late Yin-Yang stage puppets? With my strength, I might not be able to last 10 minutes, but I can at least last 3. Without waiting for Ningyu's reply, Zhao Kuo dashed out. While dashing forward, Zhao Kuo unleashed all the energy in his spiritual ocean and gathered them on his wrist. With that, he threw a punch that brought up a raging gale of energy and punched one of the puppets viciously. Bang! A crisp sound was heard. Along with the crisp sound, there was a scream that sounded like a pig being slaughtered. Obviously, the scream came from Zhao Kuo's mouth. Crack! Moreover, after the scream, the bones in Zhao Kuo's wrist once again let out a crisp sound. Ugh! Seeing how straightforward Zhao Kuo was, Ningyu pursed his lips and said, Zhao Kuo, I forgot to remind you that once the puppets enter battle mode, no one can interfere. Ning Yu paused for a moment and looked at the black-clad old man. Not even a peak Yin-Yang stage martial artist can interfere. Ning Yu, it's your turn. With great difficulty, Zhao Kuo rose to his feet. Dragging his right hand with his left hand, he gnashed his teeth and said, "Although I've only lasted 10 seconds in the puppet's hands, I reckon you won't be able to last even a second." Uft! Ning Yu could not help but laugh. He was pushed back by the puppets as soon as they clashed, and the bones in his wrist were broken. How could that be called lasting 10 seconds? If that was the case, didn't that half-step Yin-Yang stage martial artist count as lasting 10 minutes? Ning Yu, if you want to challenge the puppets, please allow me to lower their combat strength. Seeing that Zhao Kuo and Ning Yu's bet had successfully aroused Ning Yu's curiosity, the black-clad old man waved his hand and walked toward the puppets. As he walked, he said, "I might have adjusted the puppet specifications a little too high, so I'll lower their combat strength now." Crack! 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 The black-clad old man touched the backs of the 4 puppets. Then everyone was shocked to find that each puppet's cultivation base had dropped from peak Yin-Yang stage, late stage, to peak Yin-Yang stage, middle stage. He actually lowered the puppet's cultivation base by 1 level. Chapter 607. Chapter 607. Adjusting cultivation hearing Zhao Kuo's shameless words. Other than Ning Yu, even the black-clad old man's mouth twitched. How could Peng Zhou accept such a stupid disciple? Even if he adjusted the puppet's cultivation to early-stage Yin-Yang realm, he wouldn't be able to last 10 minutes. Of course, the black-clad old man couldn't say that to Zhao Kuo. After all, he had a good relationship with Zhao Kuo's master. After organizing his thoughts, the black-robed elder said, "Zhao Kuo, if you want to challenge me, I'll give you a chance." Zhao Kuo didn't expect the black-clad old man to make such a move, and he was momentarily stunned. "Challenge me again? That's no different from courting death." "Haha, Zhao Kuo, don't just stand there. This is such a good opportunity. If you miss it, you won't get it again." Ning Yu smiled. "You can at least last 10 minutes against a puppet at the peak of mid-stage Yin-Yang realm." "Oh no, in my opinion, you can at least last half an hour." "Humph. Ning Yu, I'll let you have this chance." Zhao Kuo snorted. "I hope you'll have a good fight with the puppet later. Don't end up like me." "Don't worry, I won't be like you. Only able to last 3 minutes," Ning Yu said. "You're just talking big. You'll be crying later." Zhao Kuo quickly sat cross-legged and began to heal his injured wrist with a spell. On the other side, Ning Yu took a deep breath and walked toward the puppet. Although Ning Yu didn't say anything, he was very careful. The black-clad old man's action seemed to have lowered the puppet's level, but that was not the case. Based on Ning Yu's previous life's experience, he could tell that it was a smokescreen the black-clad old man had used. On the surface, the puppet's cultivation seemed to be at the peak of mid-stage Yin-Yang realm, but in fact its cultivation had risen instead of falling. At the very least, it had reached the peak of Yin-Yang realm. "Ning Yu." Lu Wei grabbed Ning Yu's arm and said worriedly, "If you can't, let's not. Don't worry, nothing will happen to me." Patting Lu Wei's shoulder with a smile, Ning Yu replied, "A puppet in the middle phase of the Yin-Yang stage won't be able to cause any substantial damage to me." "Looks like we didn't find anything." Hearing the conversation between Ning Yu and Lu Wei, the black-robed elder laughed coldly in his heart and thought to himself, a puppet at the pinnacle of the Yin-Yang stage. Even a half-step to the creation stage warrior would not dare to say that he could withstand it for 10 minutes, much less a mid-primal core warrior like you. After today, the Zhang family in the capital will get rid of a huge threat. Moreover, Peng Zhou will owe me a huge favor." The black-clad old man muttered. "However, I'm afraid it will be somewhat troublesome to face the threat from Dongwu College." Thinking of this, the old man in black fell into deep thought. Ning Yu was a core disciple of Danwu College's Sacred Institute and a candidate to become a saint. If Ning Yu died in the World Pavilion, the old demon of Danwu College would not let the matter rest. This time, the powerful warriors of Danwu College and the imperial family joined forces to encircle the people of the corpse sect at the Coiling Dragon Ridge. It is still unknown whether they can return alive. Even if they return, they will not have much time to care about it. The black-clad warrior snorted and said sinisterly, I heard that the corpse sect has sent out a large number of powerful warriors to investigate the matter of the sub-hall masters being killed. With the number of powerful warriors sent by the imperial family and Danwu College, it would be a miracle if not all of them were killed. No, I have to inform the Zhang family's ancestor and ask him to personally come and kill Ningyu. Suddenly, the black-clad old man seemed to have thought of something and quietly whispered a few words. Sha sha! While the black-clad old man was doing this, Ningyu had already arrived beside the 4 puppets. However, Ningyu did not attack the 4 puppets immediately. Instead, he looked at them from head to toe. Seeing Ningyu's actions, the black-clad man was furious, but there was nothing he could do. He had already set it up beforehand. As long as Ningyu did not attack the puppets, they would not take the initiative to attack. Thus, he could only helplessly wait quietly. They're actually puppets? Suddenly, a voice sounded in Ningyu's mind. Hearing this voice, Ningyu was stunned at first. Then he said, Hong Mo, you also know about puppets? The person who spoke was Hong Mo. From his tone, it seemed that he also knew about puppets. Of course I know. Hong Mo nodded and said, The previous owner of the Red Demon Sword once studied puppets for a period of time, so I have a certain understanding of them. Ningyu's heart shook, and he hurriedly asked, Do you know how to deal with puppets? I do know, but... Hong Mo hesitated. Hong Mo, can you stop hemming and hawing? If you have something to say, just say it. Don't be like farting. At this moment, the Dark Emperor's trademark complaint also sounded. Although I can deal with puppets, I need someone to block them for me for 3 minutes. Hong Mo said, I can completely deal with the 4 puppets in front of me in 3 minutes. How do you deal with them? Ningyu asked again. It's very simple. You just need to find the central part of the puppets and cut off the connection between outsiders and the puppets. When the time comes, I can even put your soul power into the puppet's central part. At that time, these 4 puppets will only listen to your control. It's a little difficult to last 3 minutes in the hands of a puppet at the peak of Yin Yang realm. Although Hong Mo's words made Ningyu tempted, he was not a fool. He knew that it was impossible to last 3 minutes in the hands of a puppet at the peak of Yin Yang realm without real ability. Ningyu was confident that he could last 3 minutes in the hands of a puppet at the peak of Yin Yang realm. For puppets at the peak of Yin Yang realm, Ningyu did not have that confidence. Ningyu, you don't have to worry about this. Perhaps sensing Ningyu's worry, Hong Mo continued, follow my instructions later. I guarantee that the puppets won't even be able to touch the corner of your clothes. Okay, Hong Mo, it's all up to you. Gritting his teeth, Ningyu stomped on the ground and rushed toward the puppets at an astonishing speed. Look, Ningyu is rushing up. The surrounding martial artists had been paying attention to Ningyu. The moment Ningyu rushed forward, the surrounding martial artists let out a burst of exclamations. Ning, you should be able to last 3 minutes. Almost. After all, these 4 puppets are only at the middle stage of Yin Yang realm. That's right. For puppets at the middle stage of Yin Yang realm, can't even compare to a puppet at the peak of Yin Yang realm. The black-clothed old man sneered at the surrounding martial artists' discussions. Others might not know the true cultivation of the puppets, but he knew it very well. You won't even be able to last a minute against 4 puppets at the peak of Yin Yang realm. Chapter 608. Control, attack the back of one of the puppets with all your might. Hong Mo's voice rang in Ning Yu's ears, just as he started fighting with the puppets. Ning Yu did not hesitate even a little when he heard Hong Mo's voice. He immediately wrapped his yuan qi around his wrist and threw a backhand punch toward the back of the leftmost puppet. Swish, swish, swish. However, as Ning Yu attacked the leftmost puppet with all his might, he also punched the other 3 puppets 3 times in a row. These puppets were all at the peak of the yin-yang stage. If he ignored the other 3 puppets, the consequences would be unimaginable. Has Ning Yu lost his mind? How could he think of fighting 4 puppets at the same time? Maybe Ning Yu has a trump card. Trump card my ass. For puppets at the peak of the intermediate yin-yang stage are as strong as a peak of the advanced yin-yang stage if they go all out. When the surrounding warriors saw that Ning Yu attacked the puppets without hesitation and even attacked 4 puppets at the same time, they did not think that Ning Yu would win. Although Ning Yu was a core disciple of the Sacred Institute of Danwu College, his cultivation was only at the intermediate Yuan Dan stage. Even a peak of the advanced yin-yang stage might not be able to fight 4 puppets at the same time, let alone Ning Yu. Bang! The result was not unexpected. When Ning Yu's fist hit the back of the leftmost puppet, the other 3 puppets took the opportunity to punch him 3 times in a row. Although Ning Yu blocked 2 of the punches, he was still hit in the chest by the 3rd punch. His body fell backward like a kite with a broken string. Ha ha ha! Ning Yu, to think you would have such a day. Zhao Kuo could not help but laugh when he saw Ning Yu's miserable state. I only managed to hold on for a few seconds, but now you can't even hold on for a second. What? However, before Zhao Kuo could finish laughing, his eyes widened and he stood rooted to the ground. Xiu! Ning Yu had just taken a few steps back when his body abruptly stopped in midair. Then, using the force of the void, he shot out. Chi-chi! What surprised Zhao Kuo the most was that Ning Yu moved so fast that he couldn't even see Ning Yu's figure. This is impossible. At the side, the eyeballs of the black-robed old man were about to fall out, tearing through the void. Others might think that Ning Yu's speed was faster, but he was different. He could clearly see that Ning Yu wasn't just fast, he was tearing through the void. Weren't only yin-yang realm martial artists capable of tearing the void? How was it that Ning Yu was able to tear through space with his mid-primal core cultivation? Although Ning Yu only tore open the void for a second, it was enough to astonish the black-clothed old man. Ning Yu must die today. The black-clothed old man's face darkened, and he said viciously, "No matter what, Ning Yu must not be allowed to live until tomorrow. There are 3 minutes left. In 3 minutes, the Zhang family's patriarch will arrive, and that will be the time of Ning Yu's death." The black-clothed old man was still very wary of martial artists like Ning Yu, who were both talented and powerful. Now he was just waiting for the Zhang family's patriarch to arrive so that he could get rid of Ning Yu. The black-clothed old man was very shrewd. Although he could kill Ning Yu by controlling the 4 puppets, doing so would undoubtedly push the World Pavilion to the opposite side of Danwu College. If the Zhang family's patriarch killed Ning Yu, the black-clothed old man would be able to shirk all responsibility. Ning Yu's skills should be between the mid-stage and late stage of the yin-yang realm. The black-clothed old man observed Ning Yu suspiciously and murmured that peak primordial core martial artist skills should be between the late stage and the peak of the yin-yang realm. I wonder who will be stronger in a fight between the 2 of them. It's just that I'm destined not to be able to see it. After today, there will be no more Ning Yu in the great Xia kingdom. Bang! 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 At that moment, Ning Yu followed Hong Mo's instructions and sent out 4 consecutive punches, each of which landed on the back of the puppets. Ning Yu, the situation has changed. Retreat quickly. Ning Yu had just sent out 4 punches when Hong Mo's voice rang in his ears, and he sounded slightly anxious. What's going on? Ning Yu's heart tightened as he asked hurriedly, "It's nothing. Originally, I needed 3 minutes to control these 4 puppets. Now I don't even need a minute." Hong Mo's voice rang in Ning Yu's ears again. Upon hearing Hong Mo's words, Ning Yu's face was filled with black lines. After all this time, that was what was going on. It really gave him a shock. "You mean to say that you have already controlled 4 puppets?" Ning Yu was still a little worried as he put on a defensive stance and asked, "Of course. Don't worry, I'll do it." Hong Mo nodded and said, "The puppets you'll be fighting with later will be controlled by me. You just need to pretend to fight with them." "Understood." The corners of Ning Yu's mouth curled up slightly. Then he stomped on the ground and rushed into the midst of the puppets, fighting with the 4 puppets. For a moment, the 3rd level of the World Pavilion, which was not considered too big, was filled with all sorts of spells. Ning Yu and the puppets were fighting intimately. First minute. While Ning Yu and the puppets were fighting intensely, the black-clothed old man was secretly counting the time. Second minute. The Zhang family's patriarch would only need 3 minutes to arrive. The black-clothed old man was counting the time. When the Zhang family's patriarch arrived, he would control the puppets and launch a powerful attack on Ning Yu. Third minute. Time's up. Suddenly, the black-clothed old man shouted in a low voice. Then his soul power surged, and he began to control the 4 puppets to launch a powerful attack on Ning Yu. Swoosh! At the same time, an old man wrapped in gray clothes flew out from the entrance of the 3rd level of the World Pavilion and landed in front of the black-clothed old man in the blink of an eye. "Ning Yu, there are soul power fluctuations. Cooperate with me and pretend to be seriously injured." As the puppets were completely controlled by Hong Mo naturally discovered that the black-clothed old man wanted to control the puppets. "Since you want to control the puppets to severely injure Ning Yu, why don't I cooperate with you and act?" With that thought in mind, Hong Mo and Ning Yu did the same. Uft, uft, uft. The 4 puppets moved quickly and appeared in front of Ning Yu in the blink of an eye. The next moment, each of the puppets threw a punch at Ning Yu's heart. Ning Yu was very cooperative. He spat out a few mouthfuls of blood from the 4 punches. Ning Yu. Lu Wei did not know what was going on. When she saw that Ning Yu was injured, she immediately shouted, "Woof, woof." Furball looked up and saw Ning Yu. He then used his little paw to pat Lu Wei's arm and closed his eyes, falling asleep again. Ha ha ha! Zhao Kua, who was standing next to Ning Yu, was so happy that he jumped up from the ground and shouted, "Great! Ning Yu, you asked for it yourself." However, Zhao Kua was too excited and did not realize that his right wrist had not fully recovered. Chapter 609. Swoosh! Swoosh! The martial artists on the 3rd level of World Pavilion did not care if Zhao Kua's wounds were touched. What they were concerned about was the gray-robed old man who had just appeared. That was because all the martial artists on the 3rd level of World Pavilion could sense a terrifying aura from the gray-robed old man. That terrifying aura was even stronger than the black-robed old man. The black-robed old man was someone who could take out an inferior-grade king flying sword. His strength was at least at the peak of Yin-Yang realm. Yet, the gray-robed old man was stronger than him. Did that mean that the gray-robed old man's strength was beyond the peak of Yin-Yang realm? Everyone gasped at the thought of this. The gray-robed old man didn't come early or late. He just had to come when Ning Yu was injured. Could it be that his relationship with Ning Yu was not shallow? "Ning Yu, I've overestimated you." The black-clothed old man glanced at the gray-clothed old man, and then the corner of his mouth rose. He smiled at Ning Yu and said, "You only lasted 3 minutes in the hands of the puppet. You didn't meet my requirement of 10 minutes. That's why you can't get this inferior-grade king flying sword." The black-robed old man waved the soul-chasing sword in his hand and said loudly, "From now on, you can leave World Pavilion." I won't stop you. Cough, cough. Can I say something? Ning Yu coughed dryly when he heard the black-robed old man's words. He did not leave immediately. Ning Yu was no fool. He knew that it would not be easy for him to leave the moment the gray-robed old man appeared. Instead of that, he might as well talk to the black-robed old man while there were so many people here. Oh, tell me about it. The black-robed old man raised his brows and said calmly, It's very simple. The reason why I only lasted for 3 minutes in the hands of the puppets is that only 3 minutes have passed since I fought with them. Ning Yu said solemnly, If I had 10 minutes, I might not have been able to hold on. Ha ha ha. The black-clothed old man laughed heartily towards the sky. Soon after, he said coldly, Ning Yu, I'm giving you a chance. Haven't you noticed? With your current condition, you won't be able to last another minute, let alone the remaining 7 minutes. You don't have to worry about that. Ning Yu shrugged and said in an exaggerated manner, There's still 7 minutes left. I can still fight. All right, I'll give you this chance. The black-robed old man clenched his fists tightly and said sinisterly, I'll say the ugly words first. If you're unlucky enough to be killed by the puppets, don't blame me. In the black-robed old man's opinion, Ning Yu would definitely not be able to last for 7 minutes. As long as Ning Yu dared to continue fighting with the puppets, he would definitely die in the end. Therefore, he had to quickly draw a clear line between them. While there were many outsiders here, he had to quickly draw a clear line between them. I swear a heaven's Tao oath here. If I'm killed by the puppets later, it's entirely my own fault, and it has nothing to do with anyone else. Ning, you could be considered to be going all out and swearing a heaven's Tao oath in front of everyone. Swoosh! At this side, Ning Yu had just noticed the heaven's Tao oath when everyone moved their gazes towards the black-clothed old man to see if he would do as he said. Humph. I swear a heaven's Tao oath as well. So long as Ning Yu is able to persist for another 7 minutes in the hands of the puppets, I'll unconditionally hand over this low-grade king, rank soul-seeking, sort of mine. Being stared at by so many people, the black-clothed old man grunted coldly and said, Moreover, I want to add one more. What more? Ning, you didn't know what the black-clothed old man had up his sleeve and asked. So long as you can persist for another 7 minutes, I'll give you 4 puppets. Swish! When the black-clothed old man's words sounded out, it instantly caused a mighty uproar in the surroundings. Give Yin-Yang realm puppets to Ning Yu? To think that the black-clothed old man could think of this. Needless to say, this was truly a bold decision. Bold my ass. In my opinion, Ning Yu surely won't be able to persist for 7 minutes. So this decision of the black-clothed old man is dispensable. That's right. The black-clothed old man doing this is clearly showing his big belly. No matter what, the black-clothed old man making this decision is also very beneficial to Ning Yu. At least it can motivate Ning Yu. The black-clothed old man was extremely satisfied with the reactions of the surrounding martial artists. This was the effect he wanted. As for Ning Yu, the corners of his mouth slightly curled up, and he'd long since burst into laughter in his heart. The black-clothed old man's superfluous decision was of great help to him. Originally, he was still worried about how to bring the 4 puppets away. Now, the black-clothed old man's decision completely eliminated the worries in his heart. Bang! At this moment, the black-clothed old man slammed the soul-chasing sword heavily on the counter. Ning Yu, I'll leave the soul-chasing sword here. If you have the ability to last 7 minutes in the hands of the puppets, you can take it away. All right, remember what you said. Ning Yu's eyes lit up. He then rose from the ground and rushed into the midst of the puppets at an extremely fast speed. Rumble! Once again, Ning Yu rushed into the midst of the puppets. Still, he didn't reveal his true combat strength. Instead, his body swayed as he dodged every attack from the puppets. Ning Yu's actions really frightened Lu Wei. Without a strong heart, no one could withstand this kind of stimulation. If it wasn't for Furball constantly patting Lu Wei's chest with his little paws and comforting Lu Wei probably would have rushed forward. Even so, Lu Wei's heart was in her throat, and she was extremely nervous. Puppets increased the intensity of the attack. Ning Yu's behavior was completely within the black-clothed old man's expectations. He laughed coldly in his heart as he gave the puppets an order. Within a minute, you must severely injure Ningyu and completely incapacitate Ningyu. After the black-clothed old man gave the puppets his orders, he came to the side of the gray-clothed old man and began to converse with him, completely ignoring Ningyu. "Zhongshan, I've helped you so much this time. I wonder how you're going to thank me?" The black-clothed old man crossed his arms in front of his chest and stared at the gray-clothed old man with interest. He said, telepathically, "Ningyu is a big problem for the Zhang family. I've helped you solve this big problem. No matter what, you should thank me properly. Yan Fu, Ningyu is only a mid-primal core warrior. I can easily kill him," the gray-robed old man called Zhongshan said without batting an eyelid. "You're only doing me a small favor by doing this." "A small favor?" Yan Fu raised his eyebrows and said coldly, "You don't know, although Ningyu is only a mid-primal core warrior, he can tear through the void in a short period of time." At this moment, Zhongshan was finally moved. He already knew everything about the Zhang family in Ivory City. He had already given the order to kill Ningyu. But this was the capital, and Ningyu was a core disciple of the Sacred Institute of Danwu College, so it was not convenient for him to make a move. Today, the top officials of Danwu College and the royal family were all going to Panlong Ridge to encircle the people of the Incorp sect, so he immediately rushed over after receiving Yan Fu's message. Because today was the best chance to kill Ningyu in this period of time. Chapter 610. Bountiful Harvest. Ningyu, that old man wants to kill you. As soon as Zhongshan revealed his killing intent, the Dark Emperor's voice sounded in Ningyu's mind. "Do you want the three of us to join forces and teach him a lesson?" Don't act rashly. How could Ningyu allow the Dark Emperor to do as he pleased? Although Zhongshan was not as strong as Deng he was still a pinnacle Yin-Yang realm martial artist. If the three of them joined forces, it would not be difficult to kill Zhongshan. However, there was also Yan Fu, who was at pinnacle Yin-Yang realm. Unless the three of them increased their cultivation by a level each, it would be impossible for them to defeat two pinnacle Yin-Yang realm martial artists. Let me hold on for a few more minutes and get the soul-chasing sword first. Ningyu comforted the Dark Emperor as he continued to fight with the puppets. All right, since Ningyu had made up his mind, the Dark Emperor did not ask any further. Instead, he seized the time to devour the supreme Yuan crystals in his storage ring. If Ningyu knew what the Dark Emperor was doing, he would probably fly into a rage. In the lone skeleton forest, the Dark Emperor had used up 400,000 supreme Yuan crystals, leaving 120,000 supreme Yuan crystals in his storage ring. In addition to the 250,000 supreme Yuan crystals he won from Zhaokua, there were 370,000 supreme Yuan crystals in his storage ring. If the Dark Emperor devoured them with all his might, he would be able to finish them in a few minutes. Yan Fu, your 4 puppets don't seem to be working. Zhongshan turned to look at Ningyu, who was fighting with the puppets, and frowned. Ningyu is very tenacious. If this goes on, he might really be able to last for 7 minutes. Yan Fu looked over when he heard that. Swoosh! It would have been fine if he didn't look, but the moment he did, Yan Fu's face darkened. 3 minutes had passed since Ningyu made his second move, but Ningyu was still fighting with the puppets. At this rate, Ningyu might really be able to last for 7 minutes. Don't worry, Ningyu won't be able to last 7 minutes. Yan Fu gritted his teeth and said, "My 4 puppets are at the peak of the Yin-Yang realm. They are extremely powerful, but they are only using 30% of their strength." "All right, I'll be waiting for you to raise the puppet's strength to 100%. Zhang Shan said solemnly. Voila! As soon as Zhang Shan finished speaking, Yen Fu silently sent out a wisp of his soul force into the central part of the puppet. He wanted to control the puppet to launch a powerful attack against Ningyu. Rumble. Following that, the puppet's attacks became very powerful. Unfortunately, Ningyu was able to avoid danger every time and dodge the powerful attacks. In the 4th minute, Ningyu dodged a fatal blow from the 2 puppets. On the 5th minute, Ningyu managed to dodge the fatal attacks of the 3 puppets. On the 6th minute, Ningyu actually switched from defense to offense, directly blasting away a puppet. On the 7th minute, in the last minute, Ningyu's body instantly erupted with 4 rays of cold light, blasting towards the 4 puppets. Bang! 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 What happened next caused all the martial artists, including Yen Fu and Zhang Shan, to be dumbfounded on the spot. Their eyeballs dropped to the ground in shock. At this time, such a thought arose in their minds. Why was Ningyu so powerful? One had to know that those were 4 Yin-Yang realm puppets. How did Ningyu do it to actually be able to defeat them? All sorts of questions arose in everyone's hearts, causing them to be a little dumbfounded. Swish! While they were dumbfounded, Ningyu turned into an afterimage and arrived beside the counter in the blink of an eye. Swish! In the next instant, Ningyu returned to stand beside Lu Wei. However, in his hand, there was a golden flying sword. Soul-chasing sword. While everyone was in a daze, Ningyu took the king low-grade soul-chasing sword in his hand. Soul-chasing sword. My soul-chasing sword. Yen Fu was indeed a martial artist at the peak of Yin-Yang realm as he reacted quickly. After he reacted, he yelled, Ningyu, this is the World Pavilion, not Danwu College. I advise you to return the soul-chasing sword to me, or I won't go easy on you. The soul-chasing sword was a low-grade king, low-grade flying sword. Perhaps everyone did not know that it was Yen Fu's natal flying sword. If Ningyu were to take the soul-chasing sword away, Yen Fu's strength would drop by at least 30%. Hee. Someone has already sworn on the heavenly Tao. Ningyu waved the soul-chasing sword in his hand and smiled faintly. He said that as long as I can last another 7 minutes in the hands of the puppets, he'll return the soul-chasing sword to me unconditionally. Are you going back on your word and going against the heavenly Tao? Yen Fu trembled in anger after hearing what Ningyu said. However, there was nothing he could do. He had indeed sworn on the heavenly Tao. If he were to go back on his word now, the consequences would be dire. Humph. I'll let you show off for a while. I'll take the soul-chasing sword back after Zhang Shan kills you. Yen Fu stared fixedly at Ningyu and snorted inwardly. Right, there's one more thing that I haven't told you. When he saw Yen Fu's gloomy expression, Ningyu felt that he should remind him again. When you swore on the heavenly Tao, you said that as long as I can last 7 minutes in the hands of the puppets, you'll let me deal with these 4 puppets. What? You want to deal with these 4 puppets? This time, Yen Fu did not flare up. Instead, he sneered and said, as long as you have the ability. F***CK. Yen Fu had not finished speaking when he cursed, because he noticed that the 4 puppets moved their feet and slowly walked towards Ningyu. After a short while, the 4 puppets arrived beside Ningyu and stood still, protecting Ningyu from both sides. What the F***CK is going on? The sudden change caused Yen Fu's eyes to widen, and a horrified expression appeared on his face. He could accept that Ningyu had taken the soul-chasing sword away. After all, when Zhang Shan killed Ningyu, he would be able to take it back. However, when Ningyu took the 4 puppets away, he started to panic. 4 puppets at the peak of Yin-Yang stage. With them by Ningyu's side, how would Zhang Shan dare to make a move? Moreover, even if he joined forces with Zhang Shan, they might not be able to deal with 4 puppets at the peak of Yin-Yang stage. Damn it! Come over here! Yen Fu was unwilling to give up. He quickly separated several strands of soul power into the puppets and tried to control them. Unfortunately, the puppets still stood beside Ningyu like wooden dolls and did not listen to his orders. What the F asterisk CK? Yen Fu gritted his teeth in anger. He could not wait to snatch the puppets back. However, he knew very well that the puppets were completely under Ningyu's control. If he went over now, the puppets would not hesitate to attack him. Although he was at the peak of Yin-Yang stage, he had no chance of winning against 4 puppets at the peak of Yin-Yang stage. Lu Wei, let's go. There's nothing left for us to stay here. Ning, you did not care if Yen Fu was angry or not. He held Lu Wei's hand and walked towards the exit of the 3rd level of World Pavilion. He said as he walked. Chapter 611. Storage Ring. Chapter 611. Puppet Storage Ring. Puffed. Initially, Yen Fu was already furious over losing the soul-chasing sword and the 4 puppets. When he heard Ningyu's words, he was so furious that he spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was ashen and drained of blood. Yen Fu spitting blood out of anger was completely out of Ningyu's expectations. Logically speaking, a martial artist at the peak of Yin-Yang realm would not be so petty. Stunned for a moment, Ningyu stopped in his tracks and turned around. Yen Fu, I'm sorry for your loss now that things have come to this. I won't be seeing you out. Yen Fu's chest heaved up and down as he suppressed the anger in his heart and said coldly, That's not what I meant. Ning, you changed the topic. What I meant is simple. Since the 4 puppets are already mine, there's no use for you to keep the Dharma treasure to store them. Why don't you transfer them to me? Don't worry, I won't take it for free. How much is the market price of Dharma treasures? I'll give you an additional 10,000 supreme great essence crystals. For Ningyu, he could not possibly leave with the 4 puppets in a swagger. That would be too ostentatious. If he could get his hands on Yen Fu's Dharma treasure to store the puppets, he could cover up the fact that the storage ring could store humans for a period of time in the future. When the surrounding martial artists heard Ningyu's words, their mouths twitched a few times as they thought to themselves that Ningyu was truly too ruthless. He won someone else's soul-chasing sword and puppets, and now he even wanted to store the Dharma treasure for the puppets. Wasn't his ambition a little too big? In everyone's opinion, Yen Fu would most likely go berserk. However, Yen Fu's reaction was out of everyone's expectations. Yen Fu did not fly into a rage. Instead, he regained his composure and even revealed a smile. Puppet ring. It's specially used to store puppets. Yen Fu flicked his sleeves and took out a thumb-sized ring. He smiled and said, The market price of a puppet ring is 100,000 transcendent grade essence crystals. If you want, I can give you a 10% discount, 90,000 transcendent grade essence crystals. Isn't it a little unkind of you to do this? Ningyu looked at the puppet ring in Yen Fu's hand and frowned. A ring that can only store puppets actually costs 90,000 transcendent grade essence crystals. In my opinion, it's at most 10,000 transcendent grade essence crystals. At this point, Ningyu hesitated for a moment and fell into deep thought. After a while, Ningyu extended 2 fingers and said in a clear voice, I'll give you an additional 10,000 transcendent grade essence crystals, a total of 20,000 transcendent grade essence crystals to buy the puppet ring in your hand. Puchi. When the surrounding cultivators heard Ningyu's words, some of them could not help but laugh out loud. He had seen people haggle, but he had never seen anyone haggle like this. From 90,000 transcendent grade origin crystals, the price was forcefully reduced to 20,000 transcendent grade origin crystals, of which 10,000 were extra. If Yen Fu's brain was not rusty, he probably would not agree to such a bloody bargain. All right, 20,000 it is. Give me the transcendent grade origin crystals, and I'll give you the puppet ring. Yen Fu's reaction exceeded everyone's expectations once again. More accurately speaking, it made everyone somewhat dumbfounded. At this time, everyone even suspected whether Yen Fu's brain was spoiled or whether Yen Fu had lost his mind. What was the difference between selling the puppet ring for 20,000 transcendent grade essence crystals and giving it away for free? Yen Fu! Right at this time, Zhang Shan, who had not spoken all along, could not resist saying, "Why not sell the puppet ring to me? I'll pay 100,000 transcendent grade essence crystals." Whoosh! Everyone did not expect that Zhang Shan would butt in at this time, becoming an unstable factor. "Ningyu, do you think Yen Fu will sell the puppet ring to Zhang Shan?" The Dark Sovereign's voice sounded out in Ningyu's mind, somewhat uncertain. "Hoo-hoo, you can rest assured about this," Ningyu said with a smile. "Even if it's for free, Yen Fu will give the puppet ring to me." "Oh, why do you say that?" The Dark Sovereign was puzzled. "It's very simple. If Yen Fu wants to take back the 4 puppets, based on the current situation, the puppet ring might be the only way." Ningyu said indifferently, "There's definitely something wrong with the puppet ring." Swoosh! At the side, Yen Fu flicked his wrist and directly threw the puppet ring to Zhang Shan. At the same time, Yen Fu said, "Check it. This puppet ring can only store puppets. Is it worth it for you to pay 100,000 transcendent grade essence crystals to buy it?" In the end, in order to prevent Ningyu from getting suspicious, Yen Fu continued, "Our relationship is very good. I don't want to cheat you." Pa. Zhang Shan caught the puppet's storage ring in a steady manner and began to carefully inspect it. "Ningyu, be careful. Zhang Shan might be playing some tricks." While Zhang Shan was checking the puppet ring, the Dark Sovereign said in a deep voice, "I know." Ningyu's expression was slightly solemn. Actually, with Ningyu's sharp senses, he naturally noticed Zhang Shan's small movements. When Zhang Shan was caressing the puppet ring just now, a cold light silently entered the puppet ring. Although this action was extremely covert, it was still discovered by Ningyu. "It's good that you know. If there's anything later, you must inform me. I'm very busy now." The Dark Sovereign left this sentence and then fell silent. "No problem. If there's anything, I will definitely." "Hold on, you're very busy? What are you busy with?" F***CK. Originally, Ningyu's attention was mostly on Zhang Shan, but after hearing the Dark Sovereign's words, he couldn't help but shift his attention to the storage ring. Ningyu was infuriated by what he saw. In the storage ring, the Dark Sovereign didn't stand on ceremony at all, continuously devouring the transcendent grade essence crystals and stuffing them into his mouth piece by piece. "Kacha, kacha, kacha" sounds kept coming from the storage ring, especially the Dark Sovereign's expression. It was as though the transcendent grade essence crystals were crunchy and tasted like chicken. "Dark Sovereign, you better restrain yourself. There might be a tough battle later. If you fall into a deep sleep, don't blame me for not going easy on you." Ningyu had to remind the Dark Sovereign. After all, it wouldn't be long before he, Yen Fu, and Zhang Shan would definitely have a tough battle. "I don't need this puppet storage ring." At the same time, Zhang Shan had already checked the puppet storage ring and returned it to Yen Fu. After catching the puppet storage ring, Yen Fu didn't hesitate at all and turned to Ningyu. 20,000 transcendent grade essence crystals, and it's yours." Swoosh! Ningyu didn't waste any time with Yen Fu and directly threw out a storage bag with 20,000 transcendent grade essence crystals. Yen Fu casually put the storage bag into his sleeve before tossing the puppet storage ring to Ningyu. Buzz buzz! Ningyu separated a wisp of soul force into the puppet storage ring and then controlled it to emit 4 pillars of light, enveloping the 4 puppets and sucking them in. Chapter 612. Cultivating Sword Formation. Haha. You don't have to worry about that. The World Pavilion may not have much, but it has plenty of heaven-level flying swords. Seeing that Ning Yu had accepted the puppet's storage ring, Yen Fu smiled. You are a VIP of the World Pavilion. I will give you a 20% discount. In that case, thank you. Ning Yu smiled as well. Then, holding Lu Wei's hand, they walked out of the World Pavilion. Swoosh! Now that the main character, Ning Yu, had left, the rest of the warriors on the third level of the World Pavilion did not need to stay any longer. As for Xiaoqua, he also dragged his heavy footsteps out of the World Pavilion. Before long, there were only 2 people left on the huge third level of the World Pavilion. One was Yen Fu, and the other was Zhang Shan. Swoosh! Yen Fu's expression was extremely gloomy. It was as if his wife had run away with someone else. When do we strike? Zhang Shan was the first to break the silence. Now, or when Ning Yu finds a place to stay. Ning Yu already has a place to stay. It is with the young master of the black market, Xikongling. Yen Fu said coldly. Go back to the Zhang family and prepare. We will strike in the evening. There is no need to prepare at all. Zhang Shan waved his hand. When the time comes, you and I will join forces to kill Ning Yu, who is only at the mid-primal core stage. It will be a piece of cake. Actually, it was no wonder that Zhang Shan was so confident. Just now, he had left a trace of spirit power in the puppet's storage ring. With that trace of spirit power, he could easily seal the puppet's storage ring. In other words, Ning Yu would not be able to activate the 4 puppets. With Ning Yu's mid-primal core stage cultivation, if he could not activate the puppets, he would not be able to pose a threat to them at all. Things may not be that simple. Yen Fu was shocked by Ning Yu's stunning performance. After a moment of silence, he said, In my opinion, we should inform Peng Zhou from the Elixir Refinery Union and ask him to strike with us. I'm afraid it's not good. Zhang Shan said, Tomorrow is the alchemy competition. Peng Zhou will probably be very busy today. He probably won't join us to encircle Ning Yu. Besides, we are just killing a mid-primal core stage ancient martial art practitioner. Why make such a big fuss about it? Zhang Shan continued, Don't think too much about it. In the evening, you'll hold the line at Xikongling's door. I'll personally take action and guarantee that I'll finish off Ning Yu within a few minutes. Whoosh! Ning Yu did not know about the conversation between Zhang Shan and Yen Fu on the third level of World Pavilion. After leaving the World Pavilion, Ning Yu and Lu Wei did not return immediately. Instead, they went to buy a few sets of medicinal ingredients to refine the vitality pill before rushing back to see Kongling's residence. Ning Yu had promised Si Kongling that he would get a supreme vitality pill for him, so he naturally could not go back on his word. When Ning Yu returned to Si Kongling's residence, he found that Si Kongling was in seclusion. Thus, he did not disturb him. Instead, he left Lu Wei with Lung Mian and the rest while he found a room closer to the main entrance. The reason why Ning Yu chose a room closer to the main entrance was entirely because he was worried that Zhang Shan and Yen Fu would make a move. With him guarding, Lu Wei and Si Kongling's safety was also guaranteed. Hong Mo, how long will it take to repair the puppet's storage ring? The first thing Ning Yu said when he entered the room was in a deep voice, The 4 puppets in the puppet storage ring are our greatest reliance. We must not lose them. 3 to 4 hours. Hong Mo did not answer Ning Yu immediately. Instead, he pondered for about 4 to 5 minutes before saying, Also, I need a large number of Supreme Origin crystals. You can use the Supreme Origin crystals in the storage ring as long as you can repair the puppet's storage ring. Ning Yu gritted his teeth and said, There will definitely be a fierce battle in the evening. I want to use this half a day to increase my strength as much as possible. Dark Emperor. Swoosh! Hearing Ning Yu's words, the Dark Emperor immediately flew out of the storage ring. What's your strongest combat power right now? Can you fight with a martial artist at the peak of the Yin-Yang realm? Ning Yu went straight to the point without beating around the bush. It hasn't been half a month since I last devoured a supreme origin crystal, so my strongest combat power is only equivalent to a martial artist at the late stage of the Yin-Yang realm. The Dark Emperor answered honestly. Late stage of the Yin-Yang realm, Ningyu fell into deep thought. Right now, he had the Dark Emperor, Leng Mian, who was at the peak of the late stage of the Yin-Yang realm, Xie, who was at the peak of the middle stage of the Yin-Yang realm, and Sun Jiangwen, who was at the peak of the 7th grade. Of course, there was also him and Hong Mo together. Their combined strength was enough to contend against a martial artist at the peak of the Yin-Yang realm. However, if Zhang Shan and Yen Fu were to attack together, the situation would become very serious. Ningyu, are you worried that those two old men at the peak of the Yin-Yang realm will attack us? The Dark Emperor could tell that Ningyu was worried. He curled his lips and said, with 4 puppets at the peak of the Yin-Yang realm, we don't have to worry. It's not that simple. Ningyu had no choice but to tell the Dark Emperor a reality. If I want to activate 4 puppets at the peak of the Yin-Yang realm, I will need a large number of supreme origin crystals. Right now, I have a total of 350,000 supreme origin crystals on me. These supreme origin crystals can only support the 4 puppets at the peak of the Yin-Yang realm for an hour. Although the puppet's defense is astonishing, it is clumsy in battle. If an ordinary martial artist at the peak of the Yin-Yang realm doesn't fight them head-on and only dodges, they can easily drag it out for an hour. And after an hour, we will face great danger. The situation is that serious. The Dark Emperor's mouth opened slightly as he said in surprise, "It might be even more serious than that." Right at this moment, Hong Mo's voice resounded. "I'll need to consume around 150,000 transcendent grade origin crystals to repair the spatial rings. In other words, our remaining transcendent grade origin crystals can only support 4 spatial puppets to exert the strength of a peak Yin-Yang stage expert for half an hour. Don't care so much. Red Devil, do your best to repair the puppet's storage ring." Ningyu took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, "Dark Emperor, guard the door. If you discover any suspicious martial artists at the peak of the Yin-Yang realm, inform me immediately." No problem. The Dark Emperor knew that the current situation was dangerous, so he did not bicker with Ningyu. Instead, he flew out of the room and guarded the front door. The Red Devil did not stay idle either. He began to activate the Supreme Origin Crystals to repair the damaged storage ring. Flowing Cloud Sword Formation, come out. Ningyu's eyes turned cold as he took out the 99 Heaven inferior grade flying swords from his storage ring. In the remaining half of the day, Ningyu wanted to use the soul-chasing sword as the core of the formation and the 99 Heaven inferior grade flying swords as the sword in the formation. He wanted to familiarize himself with the 9 return to 1 sword formation. Although Ningyu could use the 99 mystic grade flying swords to unleash the 9 return to 1 sword formation, it was extremely difficult to use the 99 Heaven inferior grade flying swords as the sword in the formation. Even though Ningyu had a firm grasp of the 9 return to 1 sword formation, he did not dare to say that he could unleash it 100% of the time. Chapter 613. Kill. Time always passed by unknowingly. In the evening, the number of pedestrians on the bustling streets of the capital had gradually decreased. Swoosh, swoosh. No one noticed that 2 martial artists appeared at the back door of World Pavilion. Both of them were wrapped in black robes, and their auras were dense, as though they were fused with the void. "Let's go." A moment later, one of the martial artists hollered and grabbed with both hands. Instantly, a crack appeared in the space before them. Subsequently, the 2 martial artists dove into the crack. Pissed. As soon as the 2 martial artists entered the crack disappeared, and the area returned to its previous tranquility. At the same time, a black dog sprawled on the ground lazily in front of a luxurious palace in the capital. Its eyelids were drooping, and it looked listless. Sigh, it's a pity that I don't have king-grade yuan crystals. Otherwise, I would be able to advance to mid-stage yin-yang realm. The black dog was the Dark Emperor. He sighed softly and grumbled. Although Ningyu has supreme yuan crystals, he doesn't even have a single king-grade yuan crystal. Yuan crystals were divided into inferior grade, intermediate grade, superior grade, supreme grade, as well as king grade. There were even royal grade and emperor grade. It could be said that essence crystals below transcendent grade essence crystals all contained low-grade essence energy. It was not very helpful towards cultivation. Martial artists whose cultivation reached the creation realm would rarely use transcendent grade origin crystals to cultivate. The worst would use king grade origin crystals. In fact, some supreme realm martial artists would even use royal and emperor grade yuan crystals to cultivate. As long as I can advance to the middle stage of the yin-yang stage, coupled with my innate skill, I can even kill a peak yin-yang stage warrior by myself. The Dark Emperor curled his lips before lying on the ground in boredom and said helplessly, "Swoosh!" The moment the Dark Emperor sprawled on the ground, his expression changed and his hair stood on end. "Who is it?" The Dark Emperor hollered as he hurriedly sent a voice transmission to Ningyu. Ningyu discovered yin-yang realm. Uft. However, before the Dark Emperor could finish his sentence, a crack appeared in the void beside him and a black-robed martial artist appeared from within. Bang! The instant the black-robed cultivator appeared, he threw a punch, striking the Dark Monarch's back. The enormous force caused the Dark Emperor to be pushed back several feet. Only when his body collided with the wall did he stop. Although he had stopped, the Dark Emperor spat out a mouthful of dark red blood, and his aura dropped rapidly. Even a watchdog has the cultivation of initial yin-yang realm. It seems like Ningyu has some skills. One of the black-robed cultivators felt the aura coming from the Dark Emperor and said with interest, "Zhang Shan, I am now looking forward to Ningyu's true identity." "Yan Fu, if you're looking forward to it, you'll have to wait until we find Ningyu." Another black-robed martial artist said in a deep voice, "The watchdogs are all at the early stage of yin-yang realm. Who knows, there might be a peak yin-yang realm martial artist by Ningyu's side." "Haha, don't say that you didn't notice. In this area, only the two of us are peak yin-yang realm martial artists." Yan Fu smiled and said, "Other than the two of us, there's only one peak yin-yang realm martial artist and one peak yin-yang realm martial artist. As for the rest of the early stage yin-yang realm and primordial core martial artists, there's nothing to be afraid of." Yan Fu was a peak yin-yang realm expert, after all, so his perception was extremely strong. As soon as he appeared, he realized that there were no peak yin-yang realm martial artists in this area. Other than them, the strongest person was only at the peak yin-yang realm. He could fight 10 peak yin-yang realm martial artists at the peak yin-yang realm. Although the peak yin-yang realm and the peak yin-yang realm both had the word peak in their names, the difference in strength was like heaven and earth. It's always good to be careful. Zhang Shan said, "Let's get rid of the yin-yang realm martial artists here first before attacking Ningyu." "No problem, but what about this black dog?" Yan Fu nodded and asked, "What else can we do?" "Kill him, of course." As he spoke, Zhang Shan stomped on the ground and charged at the Dark Emperor at an extremely shocking speed. Zhang Shan's idea was simple. He wanted to kill all the living beings in this courtyard today. Damn it! Looking at Zhang Shan, who was closing in on him, the Dark Emperor roared. His body instantly grew bigger, and purplish gold wings appeared on his back. What? Purple gold sky-devouring hound? Zhang Shan stopped in midair when he saw the purplish gold wings on the Dark Emperor's back. His face was burning. Then Zhang Shan and Yan Fu looked at each other and said in unison, "Capture him alive!" Ha ha ha! Zhang Shan and Yan Fu laughed out loud when they heard this sentence that seemed to be of the same mind. After laughing, the two of them attacked in unison, one from the front and one from the back. They had a clear division of labor. One blocked the Dark Emperor's escape route, and the other went to capture him. At this moment, they temporarily gave up on killing Ningyu and decided to capture the Dark Emperor first. After all, a living purple-gold sky devouring hound's body was a treasure. This is my chance. The Dark Emperor had guessed Zhang Shan and Yen Fu's actions, which gave him a chance to inform Ningyu. In the next moment, the Dark Emperor forced out a drop of blood essence and ignited it in midair. Swoosh! As soon as the blood essence was ignited, it turned into a cold ray of light that tore through the void and headed towards Ningyu. "Oh no, stop that cold ray of light!" Zhang Shan yelled as the blood essence was ignited. "It's fine. By the time Ningyu arrives, we'll have already captured this purple-gold sky devouring hound alive." Yen Fu was quite open-minded. He ignored the cold ray of light and focused on capturing the Dark Emperor. Yen Fu's actions made Zhang Shan give up on chasing after the cold ray of light. He turned around and quickly approached the Dark Emperor with Yen Fu. As Yen Fu and Zhang Shan wanted to capture it alive, they were afraid that they would kill it if they used their full strength. Therefore, the Dark Emperor's life was not in danger for the time being. However, he could be captured at any time. Whoosh! At the same time, in the room that Ningyu was in, a cold ray of light broke through the window and shot towards Ningyu's face at an astonishing speed. Seeing the cold light, Ningyu's expression instantly darkened. He stood up from the ground with a swoosh, extended his right hand, and firmly grabbed the cold light in his hand. "Red Devil, bring the 4 puppets and set off." Ningyu clenched his fists tightly. Without any hesitation, he waved his hands, and the 99 sky-high priced, low-rank flying swords in the room all flew into his storage ring. Following that, Ningyu rushed out of the room first. As for the Red Devil, he held the Red Devil sword in his hand and carried the puppet's storage ring as he followed closely behind Ningyu. Bang! At the main entrance, Zhang Shan grabbed onto an opening in the Dark Emperor and punched the Dark Emperor's chest. However, Zhang Shan did not use his full strength in this punch and only used 30% of his strength. Chapter 614. Clear division of work. Chapter 614. Clear division of work. Haha, I wanted to kill Ningyu this time. Who knew there would be an additional surprise? Zhang Shan laughed as he looked at the Dark Emperor, whose aura was extremely weak. A living purple-gold sky devouring hound. If we make good use of it, we might even be able to reach the manifestation state. Zhang Shan was overjoyed. The purple-gold sky devouring hound, especially a living one, was truly a rare treasure. Rumor had it that the Patriarch of the Imperial Court wanted to buy a purple-gold sky devouring hound at a high price. If the purple-gold sky devouring hound was sold to the Imperial Court, it would definitely fetch a good price. At the very least, the Imperial Court would be willing to pay the price. Don't even think about resisting. It's your honor to be captured by us. Seeing that the Dark Emperor still wanted to struggle, Zhang Shan said darkly, "A young purple-gold sky-devouring hound is no match for the both of us. What if I join you?" Just as Zhang Shan finished his sentence, an afterimage flew over from afar. The afterimage was extremely fast and appeared in the area in the blink of an eye. Swoosh! Moreover, behind the afterimage, there was a red figure following at high speed. Ningyu? Zhang Shan was stunned when he heard the voice, but when he saw the real face of the afterimage, he said disdainfully, "Even you are not qualified. Are you going to surrender and commit suicide, or do we have to kill you?" Yen Fu sneered, "You better think this through. If you commit suicide, you will be spared a lot of unnecessary pain. Once we make a move, you will be in for a treat. Save the Dark Emperor first." Ningyu ignored Zhang Shan and Yen Fu. Instead, he turned around and growled at Hong Mo. Soon after, he rose from the ground and charged towards Yen Fu with the chasing soul sword in his hand. Humph, you came at the right time. The soul-chasing sword is not something an intermediate Yuan Dan martial artist like you can control. Return it to me. Yen Fu let out a cold snort as he watched Ningyu approach him. A monstrous aura erupted from his body and pressed down on Ningyu. Yen Fu was at the pinnacle of the Yin-Yang realm after all. His aura still put a lot of pressure on Ningyu. 9 and 9 return to one sword formation. Go! Ning Yu didn't hesitate at all. The instant Yen Fu released his aura, his mind stirred, and he took out the 99 low-grade Heaven Step flying swords. The 99 low-grade Heaven rank flying swords acted as the sword of the formation, and the low-grade King rank soul-chasing sword acted as the sword of the formation. In practically an instant, they erupted with formidable might, forcing Yen Fu to retreat ceaselessly. This sword formation is many times stronger than the flowing cloud sword formation. Yen Fu immediately discovered the formidable power of the 9-in-1 sword formation. But at the same time, a thought arose in his mind, a predatory thought. I must force the cultivation method of the sword formation out of him. The flowing cloud sword formation was only a low-grade sword formation, and its might was limited. It would not be of much help to Yen Fu. On the other hand, Ningyu's sword array was so powerful that even Yen Fu, who was at the peak of Yin-Yang realm, was afraid of it. It could be imagined that if Yen Fu mastered this sword formation, his combat strength would at least increase by 10% to 20%. Ha ha ha. At the thought of this, Yen Fu's eyes revealed an extremely fervent gaze as he roared and attacked Ningyu. F***CK, have you lost your mind? Yen Fu's sudden laughter confused Ningyu and made him feel puzzled. Logically speaking, Yen Fu was a peak Yin-Yang realm warrior, so there was no reason for him to be scared silly by the 9-in-1 sword formation. However, Yen Fu's almost oppressive attack made Ningyu understand. Yen Fu was not crazy, but he was extremely excited and wanted to snatch his 9-in-1 sword formation. Hand over the cultivation method of the sword formation, and I can leave you with an intact corpse, Yen Fu shouted. Old man, you're thinking too much. Ningyu's eyes turned cold, but he did not reduce his attack. Instead, he injected the essence energy in his body into the sword formation and controlled the flying swords to fly towards Yen Fu, courting death. Yen Fu bellowed and temporarily gave up the idea of snatching the sword formation. Instead, he attacked Ningyu with all his might. After all, Yen Fu's cultivation was at the peak Yin-Yang realm. When he attacked with all his might, Ningyu felt immense pressure and was almost injured a few times. Rumble. While Ningyu and Yen Fu were fighting fiercely, Hong Mo was holding the Red Fiend sword and fighting Zhongshan on the other side. Although Zhongshan was also at the peak Yin-Yang realm, Hong Mo's cultivation was at the early stage Yin-Yang realm and the Red Fiend sword was at the peak King rank. The situation was much better than Ningyu's when they joined forces. Moreover, Hong Mo still had a trump card that he had not used. Puppets. At that moment, the 4 puppets were in the puppets' storage ring. Hong Mo was not in a hurry to use the puppets. He wanted to find an opportunity, an excellent opportunity. As the saying went, good steel should be used on the blade. When the time was right, Hong Mo would naturally summon the puppets and give Zhongshan a fatal blow. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Suddenly, 3 figures tore through the void and appeared in this area. Lung Mian at the peak late-stage Yin-Yang realm, Evil Eye at the peak middle-stage Yin-Yang realm, and Sun Jiangwen, a peak grade 7 alchemist. Swoosh, swoosh. As soon as the 3 of them appeared, 2 of them joined the battlefield. Lung Mian and Ning Yu joined forces to deal with Yen Fu, while Evil Eye and Hong Mo joined forces to deal with Zhongshan. As for Sun Jiangwen, he quickly came to the Dark Emperor's side and tried his best to treat him. Facing 2 peak Yin-Yang realm martial artists alone, the Dark Emperor was severely injured. If Sun Jiangwen could treat him in a short period of time, it would be a good combat power. Lung Mian, you attack the left, and I'll attack the right. Lung Mian joined the battlefield and instantly relieved a lot of pressure on Ningyu. Although the two of them joining forces was not enough to kill Yan Fu, they could still fight against him for a short period of time. Bang! On the side, Evil Eye and Hong Mo joined forces, and their combat power was much stronger. Due to Zhang Shan's carelessness, Evil Eye actually seized the opportunity and shot a cold beam of light from his eyes at his chest. His body was forced back dozens of feet. Chi! The corrosive force from his chest caused Zhang Shan to clench his fists tightly and his expression to turn extremely cold. If a tiger doesn't show its might, you guys will treat me as a sick cat. Zhang Shan took a deep breath and immediately took out a silver-white flying sword from his bosom. Lingyun's sword. A top-grade, heaven-grade flying sword. Lingyun's sword. The moment the flying sword was taken out, Zhang Shan immediately injected essence energy into it and slashed out 2 shocking sword beams. Whoosh! The sword beams were extremely fast. One of them attacked Evil Eye, while the other rushed towards Hong Mo, Red Demon Sword Beam. Looking at the shocking sword beam in midair, Hong Mo's eyes revealed a solemn expression. In the next moment, Hong Mo waved the Peak King rank Red Demon sword in his hand and slashed out a powerful sword beam. Chapter 615. Unexpected. Boom! The 2 sword lights collided with each other, and a loud sound erupted. Chi-chi! A crisp sound rang out in the area. What Zhang Shan had expected did not happen. On the contrary, the 2 sword gleams dissipated almost at the same time. What? This change was clearly out of Zhang Shan's expectations. He was using a top-grade, heaven-grade flying sword. Coupled with his vigorous Yuan Qi, the sword gleam that he had slashed out actually failed to injure the red-clothed man in front of him. The red-clothed man was able to block his sword gleam with his early-stage yin-yang realm cultivation. Didn't that mean that the flying sword in the red-clothed man's hand surpassed the heaven grade? Thinking of this, Zhang Shan's eyes once again revealed a fiery look. A flying sword that surpassed the heaven grade was a king-grade flying sword. King-grade flying swords were extremely precious. Even now he did not have one. If he could obtain a king-grade flying sword, his combat strength would increase a lot. Hand over the flying sword in your hand, and I can consider letting you live. Zhang Shan did not hide the fiery look in his eyes as he said, You should know that the 2 of you are no match for me. As long as I want to, I can kill you at any time. You want the flying sword in my hand. Hearing Zhang Shan's words, Hong Mo raised his brows and said calmly, It's very simple. As long as you make Yan Fu stop, I will offer the flying sword with both hands. All right. In order to obtain the Red Demon sword without bloodshed, Zhang Shan could be considered to be going all out. He turned his head to look at Yan Fu, who was in the midst of an intense battle, as well as Ningyu and Lung Mian, who could not hold on any longer. He said in a deep voice, Yan Fu, stop for now. I have something to settle here. Originally, Yan Fu had the absolute advantage in the battle with Ningyu. Hearing Zhang Shan's words, he frowned slightly, but immediately stopped his attacks. All right, throw the flying sword over. Zhang Shan crossed his arms in front of his chest and said indifferently, Don't think of playing any tricks. Under my eyes, any of your schemes will have nowhere to hide. Ha! How could I dare to play tricks? Hong Mo smiled and flicked his wrist, throwing the Red Demon sword out. Whoosh! The speed of the Red Demon sword was not very fast. It drew an arc in the air and landed steadily in front of Zhang Shan. Zhang Shan was rather quick-witted. He did not grab the Red Demon sword immediately. Instead, he unleashed his perception and began to probe the Red Demon sword. As time passed, the excitement in Zhang Shan's eyes grew stronger. Finally, he took a step forward, his right hand gripping the Red Demon sword tightly. Good chance. Seeing Zhang Shan's actions, Hong Emo bellowed and said coldly, Puppets, attack! Voila! As soon as the Red Devil finished speaking, for cold beams of light shot out from the Red Devil's sword and attacked Zhang Shan in unison. Not good. The sudden change was completely out of Zhang Shan's expectations. Despite all his calculations, he hadn't anticipated that the Red Demon Sword would contain a puppet storage ring. However, Zhang Shan was a martial artist at the peak of the Yin-Yang realm after all. After a short moment of shock, he hurriedly threw the Red Demon Sword away. Then he held the soaring cloud sword in his hand and slashed out 4 consecutive sword gleams at the 4 puppets. Evil eye do it. How could the Red Devil waste such a good opportunity? Now that Zhang Shan was dealing with the 4 puppets with all his might, it was a good opportunity for him and Evil Eye to strike. If he missed this opportunity, he wouldn't have another one. Therefore, the Red Fiend exerted all his strength and cooperated with the Evil Eye to attack Zhang Shan from both sides. Damn it! Yen Fu, come and help me. When Zhang Shan first saw the 4 puppets, he became a little nervous. Now that Evil Eye and Red Fiend were attacking together, his expression changed drastically. Although he didn't know how the puppets could come out of the puppet storage rings, he knew that if Yen Fu didn't help him, he would probably die because of this. After all, each of the 4 puppets could unleash a powerful attack at the peak of the Yin-Yang realm. Hold on. Actually, Yen Fu didn't need Zhang Shan to say anything. He had already dashed towards him. Compared to the puppets, the soul-chasing sword and killing Ningyu had to be put aside. In Yen Fu's heart, the puppets had to be prioritized first, and the soul-chasing sword was second. As for killing Ningyu, it could only be placed third. Trying to leave? It's not that easy. Seeing that Yen Fu wanted to leave, Ningyu yelled and immediately controlled the 99 flying swords to block in front of him. 9x9 sword formation, 9x9 into 1. Along with Ningyu's low shout, the 99 flying swords rushed out of a beam of light uniformly. As expected, all 99 light pillars entered the soul-chasing sword. Solitary sword wave. After the 99 light pillars entered the soul-chasing sword, a powerful wave of primordial energy exploded in Ningyu's sea of consciousness and instantly fused with the soul-chasing sword. Subsequently, Ningyu said word by word, kill. Whoosh! As soon as the word kill was uttered, an extremely terrifying sword wave appeared above Yen Fu's head. The violent primordial energy fluctuation in the sword wave caused Yen Fu's heart to skip a beat, and he vaguely felt that something was wrong. Humph. Child's play. Although his heart was trembling, Yen Fu did not show it on his face. Instead, he coldly snorted and said, Since you're courting death, I'll kill you first before helping Zhang Shan. Although Yen Fu said so, he was extremely nervous in his heart. He hurriedly summoned the primordial energy in his body and gathered it on his wrist, then threw out a fist light. Yen Fu used 100% of his strength in this fist light, not holding back at all. Cold wave palm. Lung Mian, who was standing beside Ningyu, naturally noticed the terrifying power of Yen Fu's fist light. He did not stay idle and also threw out a huge palm print. Together with Solitaire, it collided with Yen Fu's fist light. Crack, crack, crack. The sword wave, the palm print, and the fist light. The moment the 3 powerful attacks collided, 3 cracking sounds rang out. Yen Fu, you'd better take care of yourself first. The sword wave shattered, but Ningyu did not feel depressed. Instead, he smiled and said, Don't think that you can do whatever you want just because you're at the peak of Yin-Yang realm. To tell you the truth, I've killed more than 1 peak Yin-Yang realm martial artist. Ha ha ha, you want to kill a peak Yin-Yang realm martial artist? Yen Fu threw his head back and laughed wildly. Then he coldly shouted, Fine, I'll kill you first, then care about Zhang Shan. Yen Fu, why aren't you here yet? On the other side, seeing that Yan Fu still did not come to help him, Zhang Shan shouted, "For puppets, each of which can burst out the strength of a peak yin-yang realm martial artist. If I die in their hands, you won't have a good ending either." Hearing Zhang Shan's shout, Yan Fu's face darkened and he was momentarily in a dilemma. The current situation was very disadvantageous to him, because once he wanted to help Zhang Shan, Ningyu, and the late-stage yin-yang realm martial artist would definitely attack him. It was simply unrealistic for him to kill Ningyu in a short time. Chapter 616. Chapter 616. Severely injuring Zhang Shan 3 minutes wasn't long, but it wasn't short either. The most important thing was whether Zhang Shan could last 3 minutes in the hands of the 4 puppets. Furthermore, Zhang Shan had to face the powerful attacks of the puppets while dealing with the attacks of the Red Fiend and Evil Eye. It was indeed taxing. "Zhang Shan, you have to hold on for 3 minutes, no matter what. I'll definitely help you after 3 minutes." Yan Fu made a difficult decision. He chose to kill Ningyu and Lung Mian first before helping Zhang Shan. Actually, Yan Fu's face was filled with indignation when he made that decision. This was the best solution. He had to kill Ningyu and Lung Mian. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to help Zhang Shan. Damn it! I can only hold on for 2 minutes at most. Zhang Shan cursed and ignored Yan Fu. Instead, he focused on dealing with the Red Fiend and the rest. Yan Fu did not answer Zhang Shan. Instead, he immediately launched a powerful attack on Ningyu. He knew very well that it would be extremely difficult to kill Ningyu within 2 minutes. If he wasted any more time, he was afraid that Zhang Shan would be killed by the puppets. "Lung Mian, don't hold back at all. You have to hold Yan Fu back for 2 minutes." Ningyu's expression was extremely grim. According to the news sent by the Red Fiend, he only needed 2 minutes to severely injure Zhang Shan. Therefore, as long as Ningyu and Lung Mian could hold on for 3 minutes, the Red Fiend would be able to fight Yan Fu with them. Even though he said that, Ningyu knew very well that it would be extremely difficult to hold Yan Fu back for 2 minutes. Solitaire. The next moment, Ningyu released all the remaining essence energy in his sea of consciousness and wrapped it around the soul-chasing sword. He slashed out a shocking sword wave in the air. As for Lung Mian, he charged in front of Ningyu and punched Yan Fu's chest with a violent essence energy wind. Courting death! Yan Fu hollered and raised his right hand, colliding with Lung Mian's fist. Crack! The moment the 2 fists collided, Lung Mian's body became light and flew to both sides. Bang! A crisp sound was heard. Lung Mian only managed to stabilize himself when he hit the wall. Uft! Dark, red blood spurted out, and Lung Mian's aura was extremely weak, as if he was about to stop breathing. F*CK, a martial artist at the peak of Yin-Yang realm, is so powerful. Ningyu was a little dumbfounded by Yan Fu's sudden punch. This is way too King Yan. If Yan Fu could continuously unleash such powerful attacks, then what was the point of fighting? They might as well just surrender and commit suicide. Fortunately, Ningyu's keen perception discovered that Yan Fu's aura had weakened a little after that strike. Now, the Yuan Qi in Yan Fu's body had been weakened by 30%, leaving him with only 70% Yuan Qi. Yan's strength, Yan Shan, Ningyu. Looks like I won't even need 2 minutes. In just 1 minute, I'll be able to kill you and help Zhang Shan. After repelling Lung Mian with 1 move, Yan Fu became smug and said sinisterly, "This sword wave of yours seems to be much weaker than before." Boom! As he spoke, Yan Fu blasted out another punch, and it just happened to collide with the sword wave that Ningyu slashed out. This time, Ningyu's solitary sword wave didn't stop Yan Fu for too long. It was quickly blasted away. "Ningyu, I'm going to show you the true strength of a yin-yang realm martial artist." After Yan Fu dispersed the solitaire, the aura in Yan Fu's body burst out and suppressed Ningyu. Seeing this, Ning Yu's expression changed greatly, and he hurriedly retreated. If it was just the pressure of a yin-yang realm, Ning Yu wouldn't be afraid. The key was that there was a terrifying aura in Yen Fu's aura pressure. This terrifying aura made Ning Yu breathless. He had no choice but to retreat quickly. Ha ha ha! Ning Yu, this terrifying aura is the aura of the manifestation state that I obtained by chance. With your primal core realm cultivation, you won't be able to withstand it. Looking at Ning Yu, who was continuously retreating, Yen Fu laughed sinisterly. You can die without regrets under the aura of a manifestation realm. You want to kill me with the aura of the manifestation state? Suddenly, Ning Yu's legs came to a halt. At this moment, Ning Yu had regained his composure and said lightly, I will show you the true power of a mid-primal core practitioner. Yen Fu couldn't help but laugh. Wasn't Ning Yu ashamed to say this in front of a yin-yang realm martial artist? Ning Yu, many yin-yang realm martial artists have died at the hands of my manifestation state aura. As for you, you can be considered the first primal core realm martial artist. Yen Fu laughed evilly. To be honest, being the first is more than enough. What? However, Yen Fu's evil laughter had just sounded when his eyes widened. An expression of extreme disbelief appeared on his face. Ning Yu flicked his sleeves, and a tree branch appeared in his hand in an instant. The moment the manifestation state aura touched the tree branch, it was absorbed into it. After 0.1 seconds, the manifestation state aura was completely absorbed into the tree branch and disappeared without a trace. What the hell? Who can tell me what's going on? Yen Fu was stunned. He never expected that the manifestation state aura that he was so proud of would be blocked by a tree branch. Moreover, the tree branch looked very ordinary and was no different from an ordinary tree branch. The tree branch of the world tree is indeed not for show. It can even block the manifestation state aura. Ning Yu looked at the slightly cracked tree branch in his hand and hurriedly threw it into his storage ring. He temporarily split out a bit of soul power to control it. Puchi! The tree branch of the world tree blocked Yen Fu's manifestation state aura. On the other side, the Red Devil and Evil Eye worked together with the 4 puppets to beat Zhongshan until he vomited blood. Actually, given Zhongshan's strength, although he could not fight against the 4 puppets and the Red Devil, it would be difficult for the Red Devil to injure him if he wanted to dodge. The only thing to blame was that Yen Fu's manifestation state aura was too obvious and caused him to be slightly distracted. It was this 1 second of distraction that allowed the Red Devil Claw and the Evil Eye to seize the opportunity to throw out a punch each. Without any deviation, both punches landed on his body. Yen Fu, what the hell are you doing? Hurry up and kill Ning Yu, then come and help me. After vomiting blood, Zhongshan's chest heaved up and down as he furiously said, It's been so long and you can't even kill a Yuan Dan state Ning Yu. To think that you're a peak yin-yang stage martial artist. Zhongshan's words rendered Yen Fu powerless to refute. In the face of the absolute truth, he realized that all words were useless. The truth was that he could not kill Ning Yu and had even lost a manifestation state aura. Ning Yu, I'll give you 2 puppets. Try your best to delay Yen Fu for another minute. After a minute, Zhongshan will disappear from this world. Chapter 617. Unbelievable, right? Originally, Ning Yu was worried that he would not be able to hold Yen Fu back. Now that he had 2 puppets, he was instantly confident. The 2 puppets were equivalent to 2 peak yin-yang stage martial artists. With them around, it wouldn't be difficult for them to block Yen Fu for a minute. In fact, Ning Yu could even make use of them to severely injure Yen Fu. Humph! It won't be that easy to block me for a minute. Yen Fu did not seem to be afraid of the 2 puppets. He coldly snorted and said, In front of me, these 2 puppets can only be regarded as decorations. Whether it's just a decoration or not, We'll only know after we fight. Since Yen Fu didn't make a move, Ningyu was naturally happy and at ease. In any case, his mission was to stall Yen Fu for a minute, and he wished that Yen Fu could talk to him for a minute. As long as they could delay Yen Fu for a minute, the Red Devil and Evil I would be able to severely injure or even kill Zhang Shan. At that time, wouldn't it be a piece of cake for them to join forces and kill Yen Fu? Whoosh! Yen Fu was smart enough to know that he couldn't delay any longer. He immediately stomped on the ground and charged at Ningyu at an astonishing speed. Puppets, attack! With the two puppets, Ningyu would definitely not attack Yen Fu immediately. Instead, he would control the puppets to move forward and block Yen Fu. Not good. As soon as the puppets attacked, Ningyu noticed that something was wrong. Yen Fu's hands tore through space, turned around and flew toward Zhang Shan. 9 returned to one sword formation. Originally, Ningyu did not have much essence energy left in his body. He had only used the gap to recover a little. Now, the might of the 9 returns to one sword array had decreased significantly. Even so, Ningyu had no choice but to brace himself and control the 9 return to one sword formation to block Yen Fu's path. Insignificant skill. Looking at the 99 heaven rank low-grade flying swords in front of him, Yen Fu raised his brows, and his hands grasped the air. In an instant, several flying swords were caught in his hands. Ningyu, I'll temporarily take care of these heaven-grade flying swords for you. Yen Fu grabbed a few flying swords in one go. Seemingly unsatisfied, he stretched out his hands and grabbed a few more flying swords. After losing several flying swords, the power of Ningyu's 9 returns to one sword formation dropped to a freezing point. The current 9 returns to one sword array couldn't even kill an early-stage Yin-Yang realm martial artist. Puchi. While Yen Fu was busy retrieving the low-grade Heaven Step flying sword, Zhang Shan had fallen into an extremely dangerous situation. 10 seconds later, several wounds appeared on Zhang Shan's body, and his aura became somewhat weak. Damn it, Yen Fu, if you don't come over, we'll all die today. Zhang Shan spat out a mouthful of fresh blood and cursed in anger. If you need a heaven-grade flying sword, I can give it to you. With the Zhang family's wealth, you can have as many of these useless flying swords as you want. Zhang Shan gritted his teeth in anger. While he was suffering here, Yen Fu was leisurely collecting the low-grade Heaven Step flying swords. I'll head over now. Upon hearing Zhang Shan's words, Yen Fu swept his gaze across the flying swords before turning to rush out. Actually, the reason why Yen Fu didn't head over to help Zhang Shan immediately was entirely due to his own considerations. The puppet, the soul-chasing sword, the purple-gold heaven swallowing hound. He was afraid that Zhang Shan would fight with him for so many treasures. Therefore, in his opinion, as long as Zhang Shan was injured, wouldn't all these things be his? Furthermore, that white puppy had left a deep impression on him back at the World Pavilion. He wanted the white puppy for himself as well. Everything was built on the premise that Zhang Shan was severely injured. Otherwise, everything would be empty talk. Head over? Have you asked me? Ningyu naturally wouldn't allow Yen Fu to head over to help. As someone who had lived 2 lifetimes, Ningyu could easily guess Yen Fu's intentions. Yen Fu's act of stabbing his friend in the back was extremely shameless to Ningyu. If Yen Fu had gone over to help Zhang Shan earlier on, he definitely wouldn't have had the time to control the puppet to block Yen Fu. Now that there were only 50 seconds left, it would be extremely difficult for Yen Fu to head over. I'll head over if I want to. Why would I need to ask you? Yen Fu glanced at Ningyu in disdain before tearing the void again, wanting to help Zhang Shan. However, Yen Fu wasn't so lucky this time round. Before he could enter the void, the 2 puppets appeared in front of him and launched 2 powerful attacks in succession. Haha, no matter how powerful the puppets are, they can't enter the void to stop me. Yen Fu smiled faintly. Wait, till I help Zhang Shan get rid of that red-robed man before returning. What? Before Yan Fu could finish laughing, he shouted out loud. That was because he realized that the attacks from the two puppets had caused the void in front of him to tremble. In other words, the void in front of him had become extremely unstable. He couldn't tear the void in a short period of time. The sudden change was something Yan Fu didn't expect. No matter how much he thought about it, he didn't expect this. Uft. At the same time, Zhang Shan, who was on the other side, was once again attacked by the Red Devil and Evil Eye. He was on the verge of collapsing. There's still 30 seconds left. Ningyu first looked at the tottering Zhang Shan, then smiled at Yan Fu. Can you get over there in 30 seconds? I'm looking forward to it. Look forward to what? The veins on Yan Fu's arms bulged. He was extremely furious. With the two puppets by his side, coupled with extremely unstable void, there was only one sentence to describe him if he wanted 30 seconds to pass. What a fool's dream! That was why Yan Fu changed his strategy and turned to attack Ningyu. Even if Zhang Shan died in battle, he still wanted to kill Ningyu. However, how could Ningyu give Yan Fu this chance? As Ningyu retreated, he released his peak rank 5 soul force and controlled the two puppets to fight with Yan Fu. Uft, uft. The 40th second. Zhang Shan was covered in injuries. He could only rely on his instincts to resist. Bang! The 50th second. Zhang Shan was punched in the chest by the Red Devil, and his body fell backward. The 60th second. Evil Eye suddenly appeared behind Zhang Shan. A cold light shot out from its eyes and pierced through Zhang Shan's back. Swoosh! For a moment, time seemed to have stopped. Zhang Shan stood on the spot. He first looked down, then reached out to touch his heart. Then his mouth opened slightly and a look of horror appeared in his eyes. Yan Fu, F***ck, your grandpa. Thump. The moment Zhang Shan finished a sentence, he fell heavily to the ground. This is impossible. The moment Zhang Shan fell, Yan Fu was stunned on the spot. If someone had told him that Zhang Shan would die in battle, he wouldn't have believed it. He might even call that person a fool. However, reality was so cruel. Chapter 618. The same treatment, Yan Fu. There's nothing impossible. It's your turn now. Since Zhang Shan had been killed, the Red Fiend shifted his attention and quickly stood in front of Ningyu. If we can kill Zhang Shan, who's at the peak of yin-yang state, we can naturally kill you easily. Hong Mo did not attack immediately. Instead, he raised his brows and said calmly, I have a few questions for you. As long as you answer them honestly, I can ensure your safety. You want to ensure my safety? Yan Fu said coldly. If I'm not wrong, Ningyu is in charge here. Hee. You're still trying to sow discord between us at this point in time. I have to say that you're really impressive. Ningyu smiled when he heard Yan Fu's gloomy words and said, Hong Mo's words are my words. The question he asked is what I want to ask as well. You. Yan Fu clenched his fists tightly. He could not wait to kill Ningyu. However, he was rational and did not attack. He knew very well that with Hong Mo and the 4 puppets around, he had basically lost the opportunity to kill Ningyu. There was only one thing on his mind now, and that was to look for Ningyu and Hong Mo's flaws and find a chance to escape. As the saying went, where there's life, there's hope. When he returned to World Pavilion, he would regroup and fight his way back. At that thought, Yan Fu rolled his eyes and said calmly, ask away. I'll definitely tell you everything I know. Very good. Hong Mo did not care what Yan Fu was thinking and asked directly, was Zhang Shan, who was killed from the capital's Zhang family? That's right. Zhang Shan is the patriarch of the capital's Zhang family. He's at the peak of yin-yang state, Yan Fu said honestly. Zhang Shan has absolute authority in the capital's Zhang family. Apart from Zhang Shan, what other experts do the Zhang family have? In other words, do they have any martial artists at the peak of yin-yang state? Ningyu asked as he recovered his primordial qi. To Ningyu, the Zhang family in the capital was always a problem, since the old ancestor of the Zhang clan had taken action. In Ningyu's opinion, he had to settle this grudge in advance. Moreover, his overall strength was more powerful now. As long as the Zhang family in the capital didn't have a martial artist at the peak of Yinyang realm, it wouldn't be a problem for him to attack the Zhang family. Definitely not. Yan Fu shook his head. Apart from Zhang Shan, the Zhang family in the capital doesn't even have a late-stage Yinyang realm martial artist. There are only 2 mid-stage Yinyang realm martial artists and 3 early-stage Yinyang realm martial artists. If that's the case, today will be a good time to attack the Zhang family. Ningyu's eyes turned cold as killing intent emerged from his body. The Zhang clan in the capital had made a move against him time and time again, to the point where even their old ancestor had been dispatched personally. If he didn't retaliate now, the Zhang family might very well push their luck. Furthermore, the Zhang clan's old ancestor, Zhang Shan, had already been killed. If they didn't go now, when would they? Humph! Rumor has it that the Zhang family has colluded with the corpse insect. If you dare to go to the Zhang family, you will definitely not be able to return. Seeing that Ningyu was lost in thought, Yan Fu snorted. The peak of Yinyang realm martial artist of the corpse insect is not someone that trash Zhang Shan can compare with. One last question. At this moment, Ningyu's voice sounded again. What is your relationship with Peng Zhou of the Alchemy Union? Swoosh! Yan Fu was still imagining that Ningyu would go to the Zhang family to seek his own death. When Ningyu's words reached his ears, his heart shuddered and his face turned solemn. He indeed had a close relationship with Peng Zhou. It could be said that their relationship was as strong as iron. However, he couldn't tell Ningyu about this because this matter concerned whether Peng Zhou could advance to the intermediate stage 8 alchemy master and whether he could advance to the half-step manifestation realm. No matter what, I can't let Ningyu know about my relationship with Peng Zhou. A trace of determination rose in Yan Fu's heart. Soon after, his hand suddenly tore open the void in front of him and his body directly entered it. At the same time, he left behind a cold sentence. Ningyu, the mountains will not change and the rivers will continue to flow. We will meet again someday. I already knew that you would run away. When he saw Yan Fu enter the void, not only did Ningyu not panic, the corners of his mouth curved into a smile as he sinisterly said, "In front of 4 puppets, how can you possibly escape?" Rumble. Just as Ningyu's voice faded, the 4 puppets dashed out and uniformly attacked a spot in the void. A loud sound rang out and a figure miserably fled from the void. It only stopped when its body hit the wall. Hong Mo, let's attack together. We must kill Yan Fu as soon as possible. Ningyu shouted at Hong Mo. Then, using the Yuan Qi that he had just recovered, he once again selected 49 flying swords as swords in the formation and began to use the 9x9 return to 1 sword formation. The Yuan Qi in Ningyu's body was only enough to support him to control 49 flying swords. Moreover, he could only launch 1 powerful attack. Understood. Seeing that Ningyu had made a move, Hong Mo grasped the Red Devil sword and hurriedly joined the battle. As for Evil Eye, it waited by the side, waiting for an opportunity to use Evil Eye to give Yan Fu a fatal blow. Damn it! Yan Fu's heart sank to the bottom when he was blasted out of the void by the puppets. In his opinion, Ningyu and Hong Mo were nothing to be afraid of. What worried him the most were the 4 puppets. After all, each puppet could display the battle strength of a peak Yinyang stage expert. If he was entangled by them, it would be very difficult for him to escape. Moreover, he currently had less than 100% of the Yuan Qi in his body, only 60 to 70%. The situation was very dangerous to fight against 4 puppets in the state. Swoosh! While Yan Fu was deep in thought, the 4 puppets had already arrived in front of him. causing him to have no choice but to withdraw his thoughts and fully focus on the battle with the puppets. Yen Fu did not have much yuan-chi left. Facing the powerful attacks of the 4 puppets, he only lasted for 3 minutes before revealing an opening. Ning Yu and Hong Mo caught Yen Fu's opening in time, and each launched a powerful attack. As Yen Fu's attention was mostly on the puppets, he only reacted when Ning Yu and Hong Mo's powerful attacks arrived in front of him. Unfortunately, Yen Fu's reaction was a little too late. Ning Yu and the Red Devil's 2 sword beams grew larger and larger in his eyes, and finally smashed into his chest. Uft! Uft! Yen Fu spat out 2 mouthfuls of blood consecutively, and his aura became extremely weak. Swoosh! Sensing Yen Fu's extremely weak aura, Evil Eye, who was beside him, seized this rare opportunity and shot out a cold gleam. The cold gleam was extremely fast and almost reached Yen Fu's back in an instant. Uft! Just like how it killed Zhongshan, the cold gleam pierced through Yen Fu's back and out of his heart. You! Yen Fu first looked down at the 3 holes that appeared in front of him, then swept his gaze across Ningyu and the rest before finally landing on Evil Eye. You're the royal family's Evil Eye. Plop! You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.